What's up, Chaos Shinobi here. If you enjoy the story, like and subscribe so I can make more awesome videos for you guys. Chapter 1. The demon's new clothes. Where did he go? He went that way. Don't let the demon escape. The mob of raging people was close behind a small, blonde-haired child that had no idea why they were after him. This child barely understood anything anymore since the orphanage kicked him out a few months ago. Since then, he'd been living by the skin of his teeth, barely scraping by with the scraps of food or clothing he managed to dig out of the garbage. Now, on his birthday of all days, he was being chased like an animal for doing nothing. Sure, he pulled the odd prank now and then to keep himself sane, but he hadn't done anything in a few days. Something flew past his side, slicing across his ribs. The boy yelped in pain and grabbed his side to try and stem the flow of blood, and kept running. He couldn't run very fast, given his short legs, nor did he think he could outrun the mob of angry, drunken adults behind him, but maybe, just maybe, in the past few months he'd been in and out of every ally in the village, and knew about all the best places to lose someone if he wanted to. He wasn't trained as a shinobi yet, but he could damn sure give his pursuers a few regrets. He ducked into one of such allies, overturning trash cans and anything that might bar their path. Behind him he heard crashing, curses and shouts as people plowed into the obstacles he'd made. He shot out of the other end of the alley and hit the ground on a skid before doubling back the way he'd come toward the Hokage mansion, hoping to catch the old man's attention. Suddenly something shot out of the darkness and tangled around his feet, causing him to trip, tumbling end over end. He tried to untangle his feet and get away, but whoever had thrown the chain had a tight hold of it from their end. He was pulled back toward them. Well, looky what we have here, boys, a cruel voice laughed. Looks like I caught a little demon. Laughter cascaded up the street walls, ringing in his ears like gongs as fear gripped him. A hand grabbed his hair and yanked him up, causing the child to yell out in pain. He felt something cold against his throat. You even think about calling for help, brat, and you'll be breathing through a hole in your throat. Got it? He nodded furiously as frightened tears started pouring down his face. Oh, look, he's crying. Hiya. Didn't think demons could cry. I'm not a demon, the child squeaked out, but the cold press of steel against his flesh stopped him. Oh yes you are, the man holding him sneered, and we're the demon hunters. Right boys? Yeah. The blonde found himself thrown into the mob, hands grabbing and ripping at him. A frightened, pain scream erupted from the boy's throat as he felt his bones and flesh being broken and pierced. Feet stomped, knives stabbed, and the people laughed as he begged them to stop. Hiruzen Sarutobi was not a man to lose his temper. Not once in his 80-odd years did he once lose his temper. Yes, he'd raked a few shinobi over the coals for their deeds, but he had kept his temper from flaring. Tonight, as he gazed into his crystal ball, all of that changed. "Take, sir," said a dog-masked Anbu that appeared in the room. "Take a squad down to the shopping district on the 4th Street, and retrieve the child there," he said. "Also, any shinobi or civilian you come across, take them to the T&I department, and tell Ibiki to interrogate them with extreme prejudice at once." "Yes sir." He wasn't sure if he was dead or alive. All that he was aware of was pain. "Help me someone please. Help me." He felt like he was drifting. The water was red, like blood. It was dark. He could hear the dripping of water, the sound of something breathing. Something big. A monstrous growl sounded around him. You truly are pathetic, aren't you, you stupid little ninyan?" "No, even by your standards, you are pathetic." The monster's voice growled at him. "To think that my vessel is something so small that it cannot even defend itself from something like those idiots on the outside." "Help me please," he repeated. "If you insist." The monster's voice seemed amused. "If you want my help, then I shall give it to you, but be warned, demon, taste my power, and you shall come to me again and again, wanting more." With that, red tendrils came from the red waters around him and wrapped around the boy's body. His pain began to fade and anger replaced it. "Yes, feel the hate, ninyan, feel the rage, and let it make you strong," the voice said as the child began to change. "Hate them, hate everything in the outside world." The blonde's eyes shot open, no longer human. The startled shinobi and civilian villagers stepped back as the boy growled deep in the back of his throat. The wounds inflicted upon him hissed and steamed as they closed themselves. Fangs grew from his canine teeth, and claws sprouted from his fingernails. The whisker-like markings on his cheeks darkened, growing deep and more scar-like. It's breaking loose." Someone yelled in fear. Kill him! Someone kill him! One brave shinobi stepped toward the child, only for the red eyes to turn on him. The boy roared, and leapt at him. The man didn't have time to do anything as the boy's fangs sank into his neck and a strangled scream tore from his throat as the boy's jaws closed around his windpipe. He wasn't killed outright. No. The blonde demon jumped away from the dying shinobi in pursuit of the others around him, nothing stopping his wrath as he tore into the frightened people that had hurt him. My god, Kakashi eyed the carnage on the street before him. How could this have happened? I knew Takeo. What do we do about this? Asked Anbu beside him. The village will be in an uproar over this. Check for survivors, and find out if any of them have surviving family, Kakashi says. If they do, send them our condolences. But these men were traitors to the village for attacking and harming a valued comrade. He leapt down to the street where he saw a small blob of blonde hair. His clothes were covered in blood, and shredded completely. Whether the blood was his own, or of those around him, he didn't know, nor did he care. All he knew was that this boy wasn't supposed to be wandering the streets at night, or alone. It had been some months since he last checked on the boy he had been forced to leave at the orphanage, but he didn't think things would become so bad that he would face the wrath of the village. I'll take him to the hospital. Someone inform Hokage-sama of my whereabouts, he said after picking the boy up. He looked down at the boy's sleeping face. Don't worry, I'll make sure that this never happens again. He flickered away via Shushin, leaving his team with the cleanup. Naruto. He remembered. That was his name. Yes, growled the voice from before. Remember your name. Remember the name they tried to take from you. Demon they call you. Creature. Monster. Why allow them to treat you as an object when you have the power to make them see you for what you are? Who you are? Because I want to be Hokage. Naruto started to feel again. His limbs that had once felt like lead now seemed to be coming back to life. I want to be Hokage. To make them see me. To acknowledge me. To make them see that I exist. You'll need to be strong to do that, demon, the voice said, and Naruto looked around in search of it, finding himself in a sewer-like setting, which also seemed to be a massive cage as he found a gigantic gate behind him. All you have to do, two gleaming red eyes opened on the other side of the gate, is set me free. If you do, then I shall give you all my power. Naruto looked closely at the creature behind the bars. It was a fox, and it was gigantic. You're the Kiwabi, the fox said with a maniacal grin. Yes, I am. The very same one that was said to be destroyed by your Yondaime. How lies have fed his legend. The fox sneered. No mortal can kill me. Not even a god can kill me. All your Yondaime could do was to steal half of what I am, and seal it inside the stomach of the Shinigami himself, along with his own soul, and with his dying breath, he took what was left of me, and sealed it inside you. Hearing this, it all suddenly made sense to the boy why everyone hated him, and wanted to beat him. They thought he was the Kiwabi. But that wasn't fair. It wasn't his fault. He didn't ask to be a monster's prison. It is as I said, the fox said, they do not see you as you are, but as me. Yet you wish to protect them. Such foolishness. No, I'm not a fool. I'll be Hokage, and make everyone see me. You'll see. And I won't need your power. I'll do it on my own. I don't need you. I don't need anyone. A monstrous roar sounded from the cage and four massive claws jutted through the bars. You wretched little creature. 'Tis not I that shall see, but you. When your world comes crashing down, you will come to me. When you feel weak and pathetic, you will come to me. When you fail, you will come to me. No, Naruto said, turning his back on the Kiwabi. I won't. Hiruzen sat alone in the hospital room save for the sleeping child and Kakashi who had brought him there. To think it came to the boy defending himself in such a way. How many dead? 10 civilians, and 4 low-ranking shinobi, Kakashi says. All of them lost someone in the attack 5 years ago. None of them had any family left. That is, I hate to say, fortunate, as we will not have to invent a cover story for this incident. They will simply cease to exist, the aging Hokage said with a sigh, but I'm sure that many have already caught wind of this, and I leave for Suna in 2 days' time. Naruto-kun will be defenseless. Hardly, if tonight is anything to go on, Kakashi said morosely, though I'd rather not have him go through that again. We found teeth marks on many of the bodies. Good lord, Hiruzen sighed. What about the orphanage that was supposed to care for him? Why did they turn him out? Kakashi growled behind his mask. They said, and I quote, The demon's too dangerous to keep around normal children, and he's old enough to fend for himself," Kakashi says, imitating a high-pitched, nasal voice. "It took all I had not to run her through, Hokage-sama, have her stripped of her position, and placed in jail for abandoning a child in need." He told the masked jonin, "Find someone trustworthy to take her place, but I feel that it won't be enough to keep him safe. If anything, I believe that someone may come after him, and hurt the other children in the process." Kakashi thought for a moment. "I would take him, but there are some in my unit that think the way the civilians do. He would be safe, but I'd rather not kill my own men." "Why not take him with you, Hokage-sama? It may give him a good experience to get out of the village for a few days." Hiruzen stroked his beard and thought, "Yes, that would solve the problem. Yes, that will do nicely." "A fine idea, Kakashi-kun." "I aim to please," Kakashi says, casting his gaze at the boy. "Now, about the injuries he sustained?" "Everything seems to have healed." Hiruzen nodded. "All that's left is heavy scarring from what seemed to be fierce wounds." "If what you said about the battle is true, then I would surmise that the Kyuubi took a hand in the boy's safety, or his actions for the matter. The way you described the scene was brutal, almost like a mauling." He sighed, looking at the boy's stomach. "I will have to send for Jiraiya-kun when we return. It wouldn't do for the seal to be weakening now." Kakashi nodded, keeping silent as he saw that the boy was beginning to wake. Naruto blinked his eyes a few times to clear his vision. He looked around the room, his eyes landing on the Hokage. "Gigi?" "Yes, Naruto-kun, it's alright," he said gently, reaching a hand out to the boy's shoulder. "You're safe now." "Do you remember what happened?" Kakashi asked. Naruto rubbed his eyes. "What happened?" He slurred sleepily. "Those people were chasing me, trying to hurt me. I tried to get away, but they caught me." He shivered, making the Hokage wince. "It hurt so much. I asked them to stop, but they just laughed at me." "Bastards," Kakashi muttered darkly. "What happened then?" Hiruzen asked. Naruto shook his head. "I think I was falling somewhere, and there was water and a cage." Both men held their breath as Naruto's gentle blue eyes went wide in realization. "And there was a giant fox. He said he was the Kyuubi." "Naruto." Hiruzen brought the boy into his arms. "I really am a demon." "No." Both men said. "You're no more a demon than Kakashi is." Hiruzen said. "Naruto, you hold the Kyuubi prisoner, but that does not mean that you become the Kyuubi. If anything, you should be a hero for keeping the beast locked away." "But the foolish people of this village fear what they cannot understand. Such is the way with many people, who are blind to what lies beneath the surface." Naruto snuggled into the old man's embrace, comforted for the moment. "What am I supposed to do, Gigi?" "I don't have anywhere to go." "You'll stay with me," the old man said, surprising both the boy and the shinobi guard. "I'm tired of adhering to those old fossils that once called themselves shinobi. I would have taken you in the day you were born had they not given me such a hellish time about it. But as of this day, you will live with me at my home at the Sarutobi compound." "Really?" Naruto brightened up. "Yes," the Hokage nodded, smiling, "and I have a little question for you, Naruto-kun. How would you like to come with me to Suna in a few days? You could see what another shinobi village looks like, and maybe make some new friends." "I can go?" Naruto asked. "Really?" "Of course," Hiruzen said. "I never go back on my word, Naruto-kun." Naruto grinned. "Me neither." "It's gonna be my nindu." "So you want to be a shinobi?" Hiruzen laughed. "Well, I can see a bright future for you as a shinobi of the hidden leaf." The next morning. The first thing on the Hokage's list when young Naruto woke the next morning was to buy the child some new clothes, seeing as his own were less than decent. At first, Naruto had homed in on a horrendous orange and blue tracksuit that had "Kill Me Now" written all over it. The Hokage had squashed the idea right away, saying that no self-respecting shinobi would wear such loud colors that wouldn't blend into any sort of surroundings. Naruto pouted of course, but listened, opting for a similar tracksuit, yet it was black in color with a single stripe of orange down the front where the zipper was, and an orange trim around the bottom, along with a set of black shinobi pants. Although he was still 2 years from entering academy, Hiruzen bought him a kunai holster, which he strapped to his right leg, and a supply of the weapons for his defense in his absence should something happen that separated the two. "Now, Naruto-kun, you look like a proper young shinobi," Hiruzen smiled, patting the boy on the head as he took in his new look. "When you enter academy, I'll lend you a set of greaves and vambraces to complete the look." "My headband will complete it." Naruto grinned up at his grandfather figure. "So it will," the old man chuckled. "Now, let's get our things packed for tomorrow. It'll be a long journey to Suna, and we will be traveling fast. I'm ready now, Gigi, believe it. Gigi, how come it's so hot out here? The young blonde whined as he and Hiruzen were coming up upon the Suna border. Like many dignitaries of other nations, such as Shinobi villages, Hiruzen was treated to a long wagon ride in a comfortable carriage, to which the Sarutobi driver and guard were a little more than surprised when they found they had an extra charge. Hiruzen chuckled at his surrogate grandchild's complaint, as it was understood to a point that he would find it odd that it was so much hotter in this Suna climate. K's no Kuni is a desert, Naruto-kun. What's a desert? Naruto asked. Again, the man chuckled. There's a good question, and a trick question in one. A desert, though it doesn't have to be hot, necessarily, is a place with very little rainfall, and even less plant life. And this is where we're going? Naruto asked, not liking it already. Afraid so, Naruto-kun, but don't worry, I'm sure you'll enjoy yourself, the aging Hokage said, smiling at the boy's discomfort while applying a fan to himself. From what I understand, the Kazekage has 2 sons around your age, and, if I remember correctly, a very lovely daughter just a little older than you. Girls are weird, Naruto pouted. There's this pink-haired girl that's really cute, but she's really loud, too, Naruto said, wincing when he'd first heard the girl shout. Every time Sasuke's around, she gets really excited and drools. He told the Hokage, who chuckled. That's one way a girl displays affection towards boys, Naruto-kun, Hiruzen explained. It's true, some girls can be a little strange, but I'll tell you this. It takes a man among men to actually understand their way of thinking. Do you? I was married for 60 years, and I still haven't figured out some of my late wife's quirks. Hiruzen chuckled. Rasa, Yandame Kazekage of Sunagakure regarded his children coldly. You all understand that you are to be on your best behavior today, correct? Hi, Otu-sama, the 2 eldest answered, but the 3rd and youngest merely gave a timid nod. Gaara, you will answer when spoken to, the boy's father growled. Hi, Otu-sama, Gaara answered. Temari, the girl flinched. Keep your brothers in line while the Hokage and I speak. Hi, Temari said quietly. Good, our guest will arrive within the hour, so you 3 must impress him. Rasa says, I do not wish him to believe that my house is. Knock knock. Enter. Kazekage-sama, said a man with a veil over half of his face. Hokage-sama has arrived at the front gate. Rasa sighed. He's early. He looked at his children. You 3, go change into more presentable clothing, and be quick about it, he shouted, sending the children scurrying, and then he turned his attention back to the Jonin. Were there any problems? No, Kazekage-sama, other than his guard, and an unexpected extra, all at well. We found nothing that could endanger the village, he said, bowing. Unexpected guest? Rasa questioned, and who might that be? The Jonin shrugged. While I might not know for sure, one of my sensors told me that the Hokage brought along a child, no older than Gaara-sama it appears, that has an immense chakra reservoir. Pakura was present at the time, and suspected that the child, a young blonde boy, could very well be Konoha's jinchuriki. Rasa's eyes widened. Why would the Hokage bring his jinchuriki with him on a diplomatic mission? I don't yet know, but I speak Baki-san. I don't care what it is, just say what you think you must. The boy is far different than Gaara, Baki said in a rush. That boy, I've never seen. I don't know. He radiates something. It may be an effect from the fox, but I'm not sure. But something about that boy makes me feel odd. Is it an ill effect? Rasa asked. If the child is unstable, then that's the thing, Kazekage-sama. He's stable, Baki said. I can only detect small amounts of what may or may not be Baju chakra, and that could mean he's only been in close contact with the true jinchuriki. Rasa thought for a moment. I know for a fact that the Hokage wouldn't risk open war with another village. Keep an eye on the child, but do not be seen. If he becomes dangerous, then you may immobilize him. But do not kill him. If things go bad for us right now, we're finished. Understood, Baki said. Before leaving Naruto was led by the hand into the Kazekage's estate, staring at the massive stone building in awe. It was like the Hokage's mansion, only bigger, and made from stone or sand. He couldn't tell. Now, Naruto-kun, I know you're a nice boy, Hiruzen said, making the boy grin, but I need you to be on your best behavior. No pranks, no yelling, and no picking fights. Understand? Naruto pouted. I don't pick fights. Remember that little incident with the Inuzuka? Hiruzen reminded the boy with a grin as the boy's face turned sour. That was all Kibatem's fault. Naruto grumbled, he's the one that put itching powder in my sandals. And watch your language. Hiruzen smirked, ruffling the boy's unruly hair. Remember, you'll be in the presence of Hokage and his daughter. All things considered, you could at least make a new friend with one of his children. Naruto sighed, I'll be nice. That's my boy. The old man chuckled. As a reward, if you mind your manners, I'll teach you jutsu when we return home. How does that sound? Naruto's eyes lit up like beacons. Really? Of course, he chuckled as they entered the building. You know I always keep my promises. Naruto was thoroughly excited when they entered and shown the way to the Kazekage's office. Their escort knocked on the door. Enter. The rough voice immediately set the boy on edge. However, he had heard the cruel edge in the voices of the villagers often enough that it always warned him away from the worst ones, like the ones that had chased him down and hurt him. Hiruzen noticed the boy move back and hide behind him slightly, and Hiruzen cursed himself silently. He hadn't expected the boy to be scared. He reached around and patted the child on the back, giving him a reassuring smile. It's alright, just stay next to me. Naruto nodded as the door opened. Temari stood by her siblings in a line beside their father, her brother, Konkuro in the middle, and little Gaara at the end, with Konkuro standing at a little more distance than necessary. She wasn't sure why, but their father had always said to keep a distance from him, that his control over San made him dangerous to others. Rasa had dressed in his cage clothes, hat and veil included, all but his eyes covered. You three will remember your manners. Hi, the children said as the door opened, revealing a wizened old man with a face that Temari knew smiled often. He was dressed similarly to her father, except where Rasa's clothes were blue, the Hokage's were red. But the Hokage didn't hold her attention. What did was the small blonde child hiding behind him. He was very small, about Gaara's size, perhaps the same age, and had spiky blonde hair that seemed to jut out in every direction. Temari's attention wasn't the only one that the boy caught. The Kazekage, having lived part of his life through the last war, had heard stories of a shinobi with brilliant blonde hair and striking blue eyes. If this boy was anything to go on, he would say that the child was indeed his son. Not knowing how right he was, Rasa spread his arms out in a welcoming gesture, his palms facing up. Hokage Dono, it's an honor to see you, he said politely. I bid you welcome to my village. Hiruzen made a gesture, placing his right fist against the open palm of his left, and bowed at the waist. You honor me by inviting me to your village, Kazekage Dono, and I must say it's quite a bit different than I imagined. We get that a lot, Rasa says. Most visitors think that Suna is nothing more than a sand pit, but under our care, she is a thriving oasis in the desert. I trust your journey was pleasant. Pleasant enough, Hiruzen nodded. I do hate traveling into wretched coaches my civilian merchants seem to enjoy so much. Rasa chuckled at this, a false one, Temari could tell, but at least he was being nice. I see you've brought a guest with you, he said, motioning to the boy peeking out from behind the man. And who might this be? Hiruzen smiled and stepped away, placing his hand behind the boy to nudge him forward before taking his hand in his own. This, Kazekage Dono, is Uzumaki Naruto, I suppose you could call him my grandson, since I am caring for him at the moment. Uzumaki, Rasa said in surprise. I've always heard that the Uzumaki had red hair. Naruto perked up at this, looking up at the Hokage in question, to which he noticed that the man he trusted most had a slightly pained expression on his face. He is the last of his clan, he said. It is unknown who his father was, but his mother was a full-blooded Uzumaki woman of great respect. Rasa didn't miss the look on the man's face. I see that I've revealed something I shouldn't have. I must apologize for this. It is nothing to be sorry for, Hiruzen said. I was intending to tell him when he reached the right age, and could protect himself from those that might try to harm him for his lineage. It was an explanation to both the Kazekage, Temari noticed, and to the boy who had just learned of his clan. She had, of course, heard about the fabled Uzumaki clan from the textbooks she'd read while in academy. They were supposedly the most renowned clan in all the nations that didn't possess a Kekkei Genkai. Savage in battle, and masters of the sealing arts, the Uzumaki were rumored to have long lives, and monstrous chakra reserves that rivaled that of a Baju, but since the fall of Azu, few were reported to have survived. Now she was staring at one. Still, it was rude of me to call out his lineage, Rasa sighed. Forgive me, I have introduced my own children, he said, gesturing to Temari. My oldest is Temari, just in her second year of academy. Hiruzen gave a crinkly smile to her, and bowed, mirrored by Naruto. Temari bowed back, her eyes still on the blonde boy, who was beginning to blush under the attention. My second oldest, Kwankuro, just starting academy, and already on his way to mastering puppetry. Ah, I've heard of the fabled puppet masters of Suna, Hiruzen said, giving a slightly more respectful bow to the boy. You've picked a truly masterful skill to attempt, and I wish you all the luck in the world so that you master the skill fully. Thank you, Hokage-sama, the boy said, bowing back respectfully. And my youngest, Gaara, Rasa says, gesturing to the tiny redhead at the end. He's only. Rasa stopped as Naruto startled both him and the Hokage by stepping forward. Naruto didn't know what it was, but the Kyuubi didn't like this boy. It was growling inside his head loudly, saying something about a stupid brother. But Naruto saw something else, before he even realized what the fox had said, something familiar. Loneliness. Then he realized that Kyuubi calling this boy his brother meant something so much more. Gaara, clutching a small stuffed bear, was wary of the blonde's interest in them as he came closer. He made the little voice in his head nervous, so much so that he didn't even hear it anymore. Now that boy stood directly in front of him, and broke out into a large smile. You're like me. Rasa nearly gasped, but kept his composure. The boy had just confirmed what Baki had told him earlier. Before it could go any further, however, Temari-chan, why don't you take Naruto round the village? He suggested, hoping to quell the children's curiosity. I'm sure he'd like that. An excellent idea, Kazekage no. Hiruzen smiled. Naruto-kun, go with Temari-chan while the Kazekage and I have a little chat. Alright. Hi, Gigi, Naruto said, without missing a beat, and grinned at the blonde girl. Temari wasn't exactly sure what was going on, but this was an opportunity she wasn't going to pass up when she hardly got the chance to go to the park anymore. She quickly grabbed the boy by the hand and led him out. Pakura was seated on the top of the tower, watching the children below as they exited the Kazekage's estate. The boy was trailing after the excited girl, happily oblivious to what he'd just said only moments ago. So that's the Kyuubi no jinchuriki? She wondered aloud, and then Uzumaki as well. If he wasn't so young, I'd considered testing him. Meanwhile, Naruto and Temari were laughing as they tore down the streets toward the park. Temari had been leading him by the hand, but it wasn't long before Naruto sped up and was soon running alongside her, his much shorter legs keeping up. Race ya! Naruto called out, and shot ahead of her. Temari was so surprised that she nearly let go of his hand, and giggled, Baka, you don't know the way. Yeah, I do, Naruto laughed. I can hear the other kids playing. Temari giggled. That's impossible. No, it's not, Naruto said, and turned around the corner. Temari did in perfect sync, surprising her. This way. Above them, Pakura followed at a slow pace, for an Anbu that is, making sure that this strange jinchuriki didn't cause harm to any of the other children. But the way the child was acting, she thought there was little to worry about. The boy seemed well in control of himself, not even borderline unstable. And seeing Temari's face as the pair raced along the streets was a rare sight indeed. She hadn't seen the girl so happy in her life, not since before the day her mother died. When the children unerringly reached the park, whether it was Temari's directions, or Naruto's hearing, she didn't know, or care as the two began playing together. That was quite unexpected, Hiruzen sighed as he sipped a welcomed cup of tea provided by Rasa. Now I feel that I am the one that should apologize. I had no idea that your son was a jinchuriki. Nor did I know that you would bring your own. Rasa sighed, having removed his hat and veil. Truly, it's been a day of first for me. Hiruzen chuckled as he lit his pipe. Kazekage no. In the 80-odd years of my life, I've come to know that one, be the genin or cage, should always expect the unexpected. So it would seem, Rasa sighed, though I am shocked that you brought his son here. Hiruzen choked on his pipe, giving the man a startled look. Oh, come now, Hokage no. I would be a fool if I didn't see the similarities. The boy looks exactly like his father. Hiruzen sighed sadly. Yes, that he does, he said, taking a long drag from his pipe. I have little fear that Iwa will try to harm him. Onoki will not want to risk war with us, not even after the Kyuubi attack left us so weak. As for why I chose to take him with me in this venture, let us surmise that it was beneficial to his health. Rasa nodded, taking the point that the Kyuubi's container would not be well liked after its attack on the village. Understandable, and I would ask of you not to reveal to anyone else that my son is the jinchuriki to the Ishibi. We've had enough trouble keeping him in control of the beast. A kidnapping or assassination attempt may cause him to lose that control. You have my word, Hiruzen said. Let it be known that I never let my promises go to waste. Your secret is safe under my care, and you need not worry about Naruto-kun's condition. He has only once rampaged, and that was when some of the more unsavory characters in my village attempted, and succeeded in harming him. Did he release the beast? Rasa asked in curiosity. No, but the beast's instincts seemed to override his own and take over his survival, Hiruzen said. More than that, I cannot say as my Anbu arrived too late to save them. I see, Rasa says, the seal used must be powerful indeed. I could only wish that own seal masters here were as good. Hiruzen nodded. Our resident seal master is more skilled than many we've had since the founding of the village. I would be pleased to ask him to help teach some of his ways in seals too. Before the Hokage could finish, the door to the office burst open, revealing a very winded Pakura. Rasa rose from a seat at her rude entry. Pakura-san. What? Hokage-sama, please, you have to let me adopt that boy. Rasa and Hiruzen stared at the woman, the latter dropping his pipe. Rasa looked at the Hokage. What was that about expecting the unexpected? Hiruzen and Rasa both stood a little more rigidly than before, taking in Pakura's glaring look at the two men. Pakura-san, while I think Naruto would love to have someone such as yourself as a mother, I must ask, what in the name of the Rikudo-senin brought this on? Hiruzen shouted. Rasa nodded. I would have to agree with the Hokage. Pakura-san, you've never displayed any interest in bearing children, or parenting in the least, not even showing interest in men for that matter. What changed? Pakura sighed. The boy changed my mind. Rasa-sama, you know that I am the only known wielder of Shikuten, correct? To the village's great regret, the man said tonelessly. But what does that have to do with the boy? Flashback X. Pakura watched as Naruto and Temari played in the park, enjoying the sight of the girl being herself for once. When the children made for one of the benches to rest, Temari started cooling herself down by using her already developing wine affinity. Hey, Temari-chan, how are you doing that? Naruto asked as he watched the airflow around her, not even feeling a natural breeze himself. Temari looked at him, and then down at her hands which were wrapped in small swirls of air. You mean this? She asked, showing him, to which he nodded eagerly. It's my chakra. Since I use wind, it's easy for me to cool down like this. What's your chakra like? Naruto shrugged. Dunno, I've only just gotten used to my chakra being around. I don't know how to use it much, yet, but Jiji-chan said he'd teach me a new jutsu when we got home, he said excitedly, making the girl beside him giggle. Pakura smiled herself at the boy's excite. Wanna know a trick I learned to find out what your chakra nature is? Temari grinned, eager to show off some more. Yeah, Naruto crowed, jumping up, show me, please. Now Pakura was really interested. The boy was jinchuriki to the Kyuubi, a fire and wine chakra beast. She knew that Shikaku was known to use the magnet release, but so few, the Kazekage included, used it. Not even their own jinchuriki displayed the ability, at least not yet. You just focus your chakra into a ball between your hands, Temari said, holding up her hands, like this. Naruto watched intently as Temari's hands glowed blue with chakra for a moment before a tiny ball began to form between them. That ball then turned to air swirling in her hands like a tiny whirlwind. Naruto grew wide-eyed at this and grinned. That's so awesome, Temari-chan. Tebeo. Temari gave him an odd look, dropping the ball. Tebeo? Naruto scratched the back of his head sheepishly. It's just something that slips out when I'm really excited, he said, a small blush on his face. You think I could try? Temari nodded and watched him as he attempted it. For a moment, nothing at all happened, and Pakura sighed in disappointment. Guess he's nothing special after all, she said to herself. Naruto's face grew red with determination, and flared his chakra as much as he could, enveloping his little hands in blue like she had done before. Temari looked between his fingers. Hey, I've never seen that before. Naruto opened his eyes to see a tiny white ball of fire in his hands. So, I'm a fire user? Jiji-chan uses fire, so I guess that's good, right? Temari smiled. He could teach you anything he wanted. Then, she said as she watched the little flame in wonder, but this is really pretty, Naruto-kun. I've never seen white fire chakra like this. If Pakura hadn't been a seasoned kunoichi of Suna, then she would have fallen off the wall she was sitting on without a doubt. I don't believe this, she shouted mentally, that little one's using my jutsu. X flashback and X. Once again, Hiruzen's pipe slipped from his grasp. Naruto, his little Naruto, had an elemental Kekkei Genkai. Pakura, who still had her arms crossed, nodded to the man. I see you're just as shocked as I am, she said, a small smile coming to her lips. He's the first person aside from myself that has this power, and I am not willing to let it go unchecked. Which is why I'm willing to go so far. Rasa raised his hand to halt her. Pakura-san, I hear your reasoning, but the boy is a jinchuriki, he said. I highly doubt. Hiruzen snapped out of his daze. Done. There, US. What? Rasa yelled, glancing at the Hokage, who was beaming at the woman. You'd trust us with your jinchuriki. Hiruzen just smiled at him. Oh, you misunderstand, Rasa dono. You see, if Pakura-san truly wishes to adopt Naruto-kun, then she will have to become a Konoha kunoichi. Pakura raised an eyebrow at the man. My counsel would have my head, literally, if I turned over our jinchuriki to another village. But I dislike the idea of the boy growing up without a family. It was my intention to have the boy raised by the Sarutobi clan, with the help of my eldest son's wife, who is due for her first child any day now. But seeing as Pakura-san is so insistent on adopting him herself, I would like to know how far she is willing to go. Rasa glared at the woman. You'll do no such thing, he ordered, no longer caring for the situation. You're one of our most highly valued kunoichi, and you think I'll let you transfer to another village? Kekkei Genkai are rare, and rarer still in Suna, I myself being only the second to Master Jitan. Hiruzen nodded. His reasoning is sound, Pakura-san, and I have very little I could offer in compensation for such a rare bloodline, you and Naruto being the only ones to hold it. I cannot offer an Uchiha, they'd never allow such a thing, nor could I offer one of the Hyuga, unless you settled for a low-ranking branch member that had the seal in place, and unlikely to pass on the bloodline trait. Pakura growled, seeing the winning smirk on Rasa's face. Then she gained a smirk of her own. Fine, since you value me as a kunoichi. She reached up and untied her hatite, and placed it on the desk in front of the two stunned men. I resign as a kunoichi of Suna effective immediately. You can't do that, Rasa roared. I just did, Pakura said, placing her hands on her hips. You left me no alternatives but to turn in my resignation. She held up her finger as if lecturing him, which Rasa hated most. As a shinobi, I could leave the village no matter what unless I'm cleared, but as a civilian, I can come and go as I please. I just have to go through customs with the guards to make sure I haven't stolen anything, which is fine. I have no clan, nor do I hold any secret documents of my particular Kekkei Genkai except for what's up here. She tapped her finger against the side of her head, so, after being checked, I can leave without problems. I think that about covers it, am I right, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen resisted the urge to chuckle. You are correct, my dear, but I have to say I would be disappointed not to have you as a kunoichi. Your skills are quite renowned. Pakura huffed. I'll be taking care of an energetic 5-year-old jinchuriki, she said, crossing her arms once more. It's going to take all my skills just to keep my sanity. Rasa, for his part, was debating whether or not to have the now former kunoichi arrested, but doing so in front of the Hokage would have been a bad idea, seeing as there were no charges he could validly claim against her. She was right. As a civilian, it was well within her right to leave, and there was little he could do. Perhaps I should take a card from Kumo and use her for breeding stock, he grumbled, snatching up the discarded headband, gripping the metal tightly. If I ever see you again, Pakura, I'll burn, Pakura said simply, shrugging her shoulders. Because, cage, or not, if anyone threatens my family, then they'll see just how the fires of hell feel. Hiruzen could see that Rasa's patience was at its breaking point, and rose from his seat. Rasa dono, I believe we should talk again tomorrow, as the day has been full of surprises, and the journey has quite worn me down. Yes, Rasa ground out, that would be for the best, I believe. He glared right into Pakura's pupilless eyes. You get out. X. Kakashi sighed as he sat back in the hotel room he shared with Naruto. His day out with Temari had long since come to an end, and the child was sacked out on his bed, totally exhausted. But Kakashi was happy for the boy. He had never seen him so happy in his 5 years of life. And Kakashi thought, with slight amusement, that the little blonde might have a crush on the Kazekage's daughter, The way he talked about her, and who could blame him? Kakashi thought it was plain to see that Temari was a pretty little thing, and would continue to grow in a beauty. She was also quite mature for her age, and acted as if she were Naruto's big sister at times when he watched them. More than a few times, she'd cared for Naruto when he scuffed a knee, or gotten too dirty for her taste. She also worried about how thin he was. Naruto just brushed that bit off, and said it because he never ate much, which was the truth. If what Ibiki pulled from the minds of the previous orphanage manager proved anything. As Kakashi smiled in thought, the door to his room opened. The Hokage walked in with a bright smile on his face. "How goes the post, Kakashi-kun?" The young Jonin smiled. "Couldn't be better," he said, gesturing to the sleeping Jinchuriki. "He had the best day of his life today." That little girl really brought out the best in him. Hiruzen nodded kindly. "I know. She's a sweet little thing, that's for sure. And once we return to Konoha, Naruto-kun won't be so alone anymore." "Planning on adopting him?" Kakashi joked. "No." Hiruzen grinned at the jibe, "but a lovely young woman here in Suna took an interest in him, bar him being a Jinchuriki, and offered to adopt him." Kakashi's one visible eye widened. "What? When did this happen?" Hiruzen chuckled and quickly explained the happenings of the day, surprising his young companion. "With the addition of Pakura-san, Naruto-kun will most definitely grow up well protected, and loved, I hope," Hiruzen said as he watched the boy sleep. Naruto had a small smile on his face as he slept. It was one of the first, of many more, Hiruzen hoped. Kakashi sighed. "Naruto-kun is quite something. Heir to a clan, and the second person in Konoha to have an elemental Kekkei Genkai," he said, pulling his mask down from his mouth, making Hiruzen raise brow at him. "What? The heat's getting to me. I don't particularly like the taste of my own sweat. Anyway, what about this Pakura? What do you think of her?" Hiruzen shrugged. "She seems very sincere. If anything, she wants to make sure Naruto's Suikyuten matures, and perhaps pass hers on to the next generation if she finds the right man." "Understandable," Kakashi sighed. "But are you going to tell the three elders?" "If Danzo finds out about Naruto's gift," Hiruzen growled, "I've had quite enough of them meddling. I've accepted the fact that they, as war veterans, and former teammates, advise me. But Naruto's life has been out of my hands for far too long, and we have seen the consequences. I don't wish to see him run wild like that again, nor do I want the civilians to have more to use against him." Kakashi shook his head tiredly. He looked far too old for a 19-year-old when he did that. "It's too late for that, Hokage-sama." "Danzo-sama caught wind of the attack. Sad to say that we will be hearing from him when we get back." Hiruzen nodded. "Then he will get the truth, and quite frankly, I don't give a damn about his opinions anymore," he said, taking a step toward the little boy. "Naruto's already suffered too much as it is. I won't deny him a mother when one is ready for him. Besides, I'm sure that Pakura-san will be able to help him. If the Suikyuten is as powerful as I think it is, then Naruto will be in very, very good hands." "For once," Kakashi says, replacing his mask. "I take it the Kazekage wasn't very happy about all this?" "That bitch!" the man roared angrily as he stood in his office. "How dare she do this to me?" "Kazekage-sama, what about the treaty with Kiri?" Baki asked. "They demanded her as a peace offering." "They'll get her," Rasa growled, clenching his fists. "The Hokage leaves tomorrow afternoon. Send a message to the Mizukage about their route, and tell them Pakura will be with them. I no longer care about fostering goodwill with Konoha, so I don't care what they do with the Hokage. Kill him, kidnap him, whatever they want, just so long as Pakura never makes it to Konoha." Pakura sighed as she packed what little she had and sealed it away in a storage scroll. Once she'd made her way home, the gravity of what she'd done hit her. Her body had nearly shut down no sooner than the door to her apartment had closed. She'd defied her Kazekage, abandoned her life as a Suna kunoichi, and career, for a child. A sweet, beautiful child. "I'm going to be his mother," the thought echoed in her mind. With that, she started packing her things away. Then she wondered how she was going to tell Maki. Of course, it didn't help that her friend was out of the village. "I'll miss her," she thought sadly. "She's never going to forgive me for not saying goodbye, but I really don't have the time to wait." The fact was that she didn't trust the Kazekage not to do something. Rasa was a shrewd man. If something went wrong, then there would indeed be hell to pay. His own children knew that. She was sad at the fact that Temari would be losing her friend for a while, but she could suggest to the pair that they write to each other as a Jinchuriki, Naruto was sure to be singled out for the people's hatred of his burden. He was so thin. She remembered watching him in the park, and seeing his tiny, energetic form keeping pace with Temari, who was a good 3 years older than he was. This must be a maternal instinct, she thought for a moment, as she wanted nothing more than to make sure that Naruto got a proper diet and that nothing would ever happen to him. I wonder what he'll think of me? The thought had momentarily crossed her mind that Naruto may in fact resist the adoption, but then, it would still work in her favor if she could at least train the boy. A feeling of nervousness came to her. What if he doesn't like me? Rasa was looking over the reports Yoshimaru had given him on his youngest son's progress. This is most unacceptable, Rasa says, slapping the reports to his desk. If he's unable to control himself, then he is yet another failure as a jinchuriki. Yoshimaru sighed, but he's just a child, Kazekage-sama. Shouldn't we wait a little longer to see if he can? No. Rasa dismissed the thought. I'm sending out an evacuation order. After all of the appointed citizens have moved out of the village, I want you to test Gaara. Yoshimaru, me? But, sir, no. Rasa growled. It has to be done by you. He fears me, and you are the only other person close enough to him to traumatize him. He must be made to believe that his mother never loved him, and that his son is her curse upon this village. The Kazekage snapped. Also, it has come to my knowledge that Kiri has decided against working with us in an alliance. Seeing as we are unable to provide them with Pakura's life, do not inform her, or the Hokage, about the evacuation. Yoshimaru nodded. It shall be done. Rasa nodded. Good, he said, turning toward the window. Be careful out there, Yoshimaru. I would prefer you to live through this if possible. Yoshimaru pulled his mask over his face and turned to leave, his heart heavy. Do not look for me to return, the man said. Gaara's mother will always protect him from harm, no matter who comes for him. Naruto had woken from his nap, and was currently pestering Hiruzen for the jutsu he'd promised, but the old man was merely chuckling away as he teased the boy about not being back in the village yet. Naruto pouted and begged even as the aging Hokage and young Anbu Shinobi laughed at him. Despite the youngster's earlier mishap with young Gaara, he had been on his best behavior. The best the Sarutobi patriarch had ever seen, in fact. But teaching him a juster was out of the question while not in the village. Though there was one thing that the old man knew would take his mind off the desired reward until they returned. Naruto-chan, I just remembered something I was supposed to tell you, he said, gaining the pouting boy's attention. I met a woman earlier today, and she said she wished to move to Konoha and adopt you. Upon hearing this, Naruto's eyes went wide for a moment, shimmering with tears before the light in those blue orbs died off. Liar. Why would I lie? Hiruzen asked, surprised. I would have thought you'd be happy to hear something like that. Naruto shook his head. The lady at the orphanage said no one would want to adopt me. Ever, because I'm just a little monster. Kakashi tightened his hands into fists angrily. That's sadistic. Naruto-chan, Hiruzen said before the young jonin could get started. I've already told you that you are no more a monster than I am, he said, picking the child up and setting him on his knee. You are, without a doubt, the most special child I've ever met. Do you know why? Naruto shook his head. Because, despite all that has been said and done to you, you have remained strong, and so kind that I could not believe it myself. I know I wouldn't have been able to forgive something like that, but you just keep smiling, even though you know that all of their anger and hatred is directed at you, instead of the fox inside you. Naruto smiled slightly. It's because I wanna be Hokage, he said without hesitation. I'll make them all see that I'm not what they think I am, and get them to see who I am, not for the stupid fox. Bye for me. Kakashi nodded, smiling behind his mask. That was well said, and just to let you know, Pakura-san is very interested in adopting you, he said, heading to the door, and opening it. She's so eager to meet you that she couldn't even wait until tomorrow. The door swung open to reveal the green-orange-haired woman in question, her hand raised to knock. Pakura blinked in surprise as Kakashi gave his customary eye smile at her. Oh I hope I'm not interrupting? Hiruzen chuckled. Not at all. I was just telling young Naruto-chan about your adoption of him, he said, patting the child on the head. I'm afraid he didn't quite believe me. The child in question was suddenly feeling extremely shy with the arrival of this new person, someone that supposedly wanted to be his mother. But there was no way that was true, was it? No one wanted to be near someone like him, did they? Despite how kind the woman looked, the tiny blonde knew that as soon as she found out about what was inside him, then she wouldn't want to come near him. No, When she found out, she would hate him, too, just like the rest of the village. Is it because of what he carries? Pakura asked, which surprised Naruto and Kakashi, which was all Pakura needed to know. May I come in? She asked. Hiruzen smiled and nodded. Please, come get to know our little Naruto-chan. Pakura stepped into the room as Kakashi closed the door behind her. The woman made her way to where the pair were sitting, Naruto keeping his eyes on her the whole time, and sat down next to them. Hello, Naruto-chan. Naruto just nodded to her, not knowing what to say. Pakura gave him a gentle smile. I realize what you must think, little one, but the truth is, I truly wish to adopt you. She held out her hand to the child. I don't care about the bijou you hold inside, but I know exactly what it's like for you. Gaara, as you said earlier today, is indeed like you, a jinchuriki. Not only does the village fear him, but so do his siblings and his father. She said, but I'm not like that. I promise, if you let me, I'll always be there for you. Naruto looked at her hand for a moment, before reaching out and letting his fingers curl around hers. It's warm, was the first thought that entered his mind. And soft. Like Hokage Gigi's. Pakura smiled warmly and drew the child to her, and held him tightly. Will you let me be your mother, Naruto-chan? Gaara reached out to the shinobi's mask, ripping it from his face, wanting to know who his attacker was. As the veil was drawn away, his eyes went wide as the face of his beloved uncle met his gaze. Why Yashimaru Oji-san? Why? I was ordered to do so, Yashimaru said, blood dripping from his lips. Your father wanted me to test your control over the Ishibi, and asked me to carry out this mission, but make no mistake, I had a choice to refuse, but I willingly took this mission. But why? Gaara cried desperately, what did I do wrong? Tell why. Yashimaru looked at the small boy, clutching his teddy bear for dear life, and sighed. Because I tried to love you, Gaara-kun, but in the end, I could do nothing more than hate you with my entire being for what you did to my sister, he said, making the poor child's eyes go wider. Do you know why your mother brought you into this world? Because she hated what the village made her do. To have the Ishibi sealed inside you before you were ever born, taking away her life. She brought you into this world as a curse upon this village. She did not love you so much that she hated this village. Gaara's tears streamed down his face, his tiny body trembling as Yashimaru opened up his vest. And so, this is goodbye, Yashimaru said, pulling his vest open, revealing a body covered in explosive notes. For the sake of this village, please die, Gaara. The bombs went off, blanketing the area with smoke and ash. The wind blew the black clouds away, revealing a sphere of sand, covered in Yashimaru's blood as it fell apart. Gaara stood there, his eyes white with shock. His mouth opened, and the scream of a beast erupted from his throat. Rasa, watching from his home, saw the rush of sand as the Ishibi formed itself, his eyes narrowing. He's another failure, he sneered. It matters little, at least he can do me the small task of ridding the village of that treacherous Pakura, and the damned Hiruzen. And then I can trap him. The Shukaku roared, and crashed through the village, heading exactly where the man was hoping it would. The hotel housing the Hokage. A grin spread itself across his face as the beast crashed its paw right through the roof, collapsing the hotel in on itself, and destroying it. Good boy, that's a fine piece of work, my son. Rasa laughed as the building came down, the Shukaku howling and crashing into the village again. Rasa was sure that he had won. The Hokage was old, and feeble, and the guard he had brought with him was young, as was the Jinchuriki. Nothing could save them from the Shukaku's wrath. That is, until a massive ball of flames erupted from the ruins of the hotel. Pakura? Rasa wondered. But no, the flames were far too big, even if she was using her incinerating flare technique. Rasa's answer came from the hotel with a roar even mightier than the Shukaku's. It was a sight he had never seen before, and hoped that he never would, at least not in his village. 9 massive tails rose from the rubble as a sickening wave of chakra washed over the village, nearly knocking the man from his perch. In a way, the beast was smaller than Shukaku, if only in mass, but that did nothing to take away from the ominous presence the Kiwabi unleashed as it rose in height, its blue eyes blazing. Blue? The Kazekage questioned out of wonder. I'd always heard it had red eyes. Moments before the Ishibi crashed through the roof, something shook loose in the group as the beast drew near as Pakura drew Naruto into her arms to protect him. Hiruzen and Kakashi had ushered them both to the windows to escape, but the roof was collapsed before they had a chance to get out. Pakura held Naruto against her tightly as she had tumbled through the air. Kakashi had appeared beside her and gotten them both out of harm's way, Hiruzen landing softly beside them only a moment later, no worse for wear other than some slight scuffs on his cheek from the debris. The Ishibi hadn't finished with the building, however, and smashed into it until it was nothing but a pile of stones. The little blonde had made the mistake of looking into the crazed eyes of the one-tailed beast, and immediately felt something inside him snap, almost like a chain breaking loose. "Yes," growled an all-too-familiar voice, "you sense it, don't you?" Naruto shook his head, trying to rid himself of the beast's voice, but the Kiwabi only laughed. "The Shukaku will destroy everything he comes in contact with. Your Hokage, the white-haired runt, and your new mother," the fox sneered, "and you can't do anything about it. Not with your puny little body. But if you decided to take a bit more of my power, you could easily defeat the Ishibi." Naruto whimpered as he felt the malevolent chakra trying to make its way into his system, but he resisted. "Go on, take it. Take my power and protect those you love. Including that little vixen you've come to care for." Temari was her name, wasn't it? That had been the last straw. As Naruto stopped resisting, he let the chakra flow through him like a flow, and his body began to burn as a shroud of red chakra bubbled around him. Pakura looked down at him in shock and held him tight. "Naruto-chan, no, you can't let it control you," she yelled, gaining the two men's attention. Hiruzen moved to try to seal the boy's chakra flow, but it was too late as the tails began to sprout. Pakura was forced to release him as his body began to grow, and the chakra began to burn her flesh. "Yes," the fox howled gleefully, "more. Take more of my power." Naruto was close to losing himself right there and then as the chakra washed over him. "Don't let it control you." His eyes snapped open. Pakura's words rang through his ears like steel striking steel. He wasn't taking power from the fox was giving it to him. "This power," Naruto mumbled, "only for the fox's ears. This body, they both belong to me." Naruto and the Kiwabi were suddenly face to face, glaring at one another. "I already told you that I won't take power from you, ya damned fox!" Naruto shouted at the beast as he sneered at the blonde, "But since you're giving this power to me, I'll use it the way I want, not the way you want." Naruto roared, his clear blue eyes glowing brighter than the stars as the Ishibi turned toward them. His body erupted in a massive ball of flames as he began to grow. "You wretched little worm," Kiwabi snarled as the boy took on his form, "someday the pull of my power will be far too much for you to resist on your own, and then I shall devour your soul." Naruto paid no attention to the fox as his body grew in size comparable to the sand spirit. His teeth sharpened to fangs, and his nails became claws as thick as tree trunks. His 9 thrashing tails smashed into the surrounding buildings as he glared at his prey. Hiruzen paled as the fox fully manifested itself, unaware that it was Naruto at the helm. Pakura was nearly caught underneath his paws as he stumbled about, trying to get his bearings, but Kakashi flitted in and pulled her to safety. Hiruzen growled, and pulled off his robes, revealing his battle attire beneath. "Kiwabi, give back the boy!" he roared. Then the beast turned its gaze upon the old man, and Hiruzen felt his heart clench as the beast looked at him with familiar blue eyes. Kind and innocent eyes that he knew so very well. "Naruto?" The Kiwabi nodded its head, and then turned back toward Shukaku, roaring out a challenge at the beast. Shukaku, the beast itself in control, readily returned the challenge. Naruto wasted no time and barreled into the beast. The two were bowled over from the force of Naruto's charge, and crashed into the ground even as Naruto came out on top, ripping and tearing at the sandy body of the sand spirit. Pakura watched in morbid fascination as the Kiwabi tore into the other beast. Why is this happening? I don't know," Kakashi says, watching the two beasts roll. "But this is bad. If this fight gets worse than this." Hiruzen appeared beside them. "It's of no consequence," the aged Kage said, "I can sense anyone life in the village, save for the Kazekage himself. Everyone else seems to be on the outskirts of the village north of here." Pakura growled, "Of course," she sneered, "this is all Rasa's doing. He had someone attack Gaara-kun." Kakashi looked startled. "Why would he do that? That's his own son, isn't it?" Pakura shook her head angrily, as if he cared. "All he wanted was for the village to have a proper jinchuriki. If Gaara couldn't control the beast, then he would have been killed so the Bajou be resealed into someone else. == Meanwhile, on the northern side of the village, the citizens were all gathered together, listening to the sounds of the battle, not knowing what in the great nations was going on. The roars of the two Bajou terrified the people, particularly two small children from the Kazekage's family. Temari and her brother were huddled against Baki as the sounds of battle raged around them. Baki-sensei, Kankuro said, looking up at the Jonin, "Is the Baju gonna get us?" Baki looked down and smiled at the boy. "No, your father will beat it, just like all the other times." Temari shivered. "But what about Gaara-kun?" At this, Baki was left without an answer. Temari was no fool. She knew full well that the Baju had been sealed into her youngest brother, and the reason that he was so hated by the village. The ground shook violently, saving him from answering, but the crash had been far too close for the Jonin's comfort. "Everyone, move to the oasis, now!" The shinobi among them directed the people away from the village. Magnet style, golden shower. Rasa roared, his gold dust forming a hail of projectiles, pelting both of the Baju as they fought. Naruto growled at the man, and let loose a stream of fire at him in anger at being attacked. Shukaku took the moment and hit him with an air bullet, knocking the transformed blonde off of him. Hiruzen alighted next to the man. "Rasa, you picked a bad time to do something so foolish as the unleash your son's captive," he growled at the man. If that wasn't bad enough, it touched off Naruto-chan's transformation, and now we have two rampaging tailed beasts to deal with. Rasa, annoyed at being yelled at, growled, "All will be well, Sarutobi Dono. I have had to deal with this sort of thing from my son before," he said, raising his hands and forming a massive cloud of gold dust above him. "Can you hit me with a lightning-style jutsu?" Kakashi landed beside the pair with Pakura following close behind him. "I have one. What do you need?" Rasa nodded. "Just hit me with your strongest as soon as I tell you to," he said, and formed his seals, magnet style, lightning god armor. The gold dust that had been collecting above him came swirling down around the Kazekage, and latched onto him, forming to his body, covering him, and creating a larger, golden body. Now Kakashi flashed through a series of hand seals as lightning began to form around him, lightning style, electromagnetic murder. The jutsu surged forth, arcing up and down the massive golden figure, covering it in a layer of electricity. Rasa then moved toward the two fighting beasts. Naruto, meanwhile, was struggling to keep himself upright as Shukaku lunged at him. "Stop moving around, Kurama, you coward!" the beast roared angrily, swiping at him. "I'll finally show you which one of us is strongest once and for all." Naruto didn't say anything and latched onto the beast's arm, and fell back, rolling onto his back, and lifted his hind legs, planting his feet against Shukaku's stomach, and hurled him over his head. Rasa, covered in his giant armor, stared in horror as the beast was sent careening into the northern walls of the village. Shukaku crashed through the walls, slamming into the ground with a wail of anger, one of his arms missing. Naruto dropped the appendage and bounded after him. Temari screamed as the Shukaku rose from the rubble, roaring. Then she saw the flash of red as the Kyuubi roared onto the scene, pouncing on the sand spirit, and biting into its neck. "The Kyuubi?" Temari heard Baki shout. "Why? How?" Temari looked from her sensei to the two beasts, her eyes falling on the massive fox, and noticing the familiar blue eyes. "You're like me." The girl trembled as she recalled Naruto's words to her brother, and only now did they make sense. Naruto was also a jinchuriki, the Kyuubi was his Baju, and he was fighting her little brother. Rasa's giant form lumbered toward the brawling beasts as Naruto kept the pressure upon Shukaku's back. The tanuki was cackling madly as the kitsune tore into him. "Is that all you've got, Kurama?" The one-tailed beast laughed, his body beginning to melt into sand. "You've gotten so weak since the last time we fought." Naruto spat out a mouthful of sand, and growled as the mad creature melted away from him, growling as he reformed a few meters away. Shukaku was still wearing his mad grin as his missing arm also reformed. "Tell me something, Oni-sama, how does it feel to finally be sealed away into a jinchuriki like the rest of us?" The mad sand spirit grinned. "So weak." "Controlled by a mere human," Naruto growled, a rumbling beginning in his chest, and the young jinchuriki opened his mouth, letting loose a roar that created a massive wave of chakra, blasting across the desert, and slamming into the Ishibi, knocking him over. The shock wave of the roar was enough to be felt across the valley, even knocking over the people that had fled the village to get away from the massive battle. Rasa was not spared as the wave struck his golden armored form, but was able to keep his footing at the cost of a large amount of chakra to keep the form stable. Meanwhile, Temari, her eyes glued to the battle in front of her. On the one side, her brother was being pushed back by the Kyuubi, while she also worried for her friend trapped inside the gigantic form of the kitsune. Then there was her father, advancing on both of them. She'd seen his lightning god armor in action before, and knew that if he got within range of the two beasts, then neither of them would escape unscathed, a point that was driven home as the massive golem reared back its fist and slammed it into the unknowing fox, sending her friend sprawling. Naruto turned on the armored cage in a rage and roared angrily. Rasa braced himself inside his shell as the Kiwabi sprang at him, its jaws agape, and crashed into him. Shukaku righted himself and grinned as he saw the new target that had entered the battle. Hiya, perfect. The Ishibi howled, his body beginning to dissolve. I'll seal ya both up. Then I can kill and kill to my heart's content. Hiya. The sand around the one-tailed beast erupted in a massive wave bearing down on the Kazekage and the Kiwabi. Naruto growled at the beast as the sand crashed down on him, slowing him down. It covered him from head to toe. Rasa, seeing the danger the technique was about to pose, wisely chose to abandon his armor, and leapt clear of the danger as his gold dust golem began to melt. Soon, only Naruto's head was visible as a towering pyramid of sand formed around him. He roared, and unleashed a blast of white-hot flames toward Shukaku, who merely stepped aside, grinning madly. No, Kurama-chan, you won't be stopping me this time. Futon, desert layered imperial funeral sealing jutsu. No you don't, roared Hiruzen. Adamante Nyoibo. The black and bronze capped staff came crashing down upon the Shukaku's head, making the beast scream in pain at being interrupted. Stupid old man! Shukaku roared, and swiped at him with his massive hands. I'll kill ya! Not today, Kakashi yelled, making his presence known. Let's see how you like this. Chidori. He slammed his lightning-charged arm into the beast's side, electrifying him. Pakura came running from behind the creature, darting up from the ground and up his tail. Careful, Kakashi-san, you'll kill Gaara-kun. As she made her way up the Shukaku's back, smaller versions of the creature began popping up along her path. Get off me, Yasuna bitch! Shukaku's clones roared. Futon, air bullet barrage. Pakura nearly jumped clear off of the beast's back as the miniaturized clones fired off their attacks, but she kept herself going, flashing through her own set of hand signs. Katten, Grand Fireball Jutsu! She roared as a massive fireball erupted from her mouth. Turn to glass, you wretched monster! As the fireball was struck by the air bullet barrage, it created a white-hot blaze that scorched its way across Shukaku's back, creating a gleaming path of glass in its wake. Shukaku was furious, and used his tail to swat at her in retaliation. Then, the Kiwabi was there, having torn himself free from the sand tomb, and biting down on Shukaku's tail. With a jerk of his head, Naruto tore the tail free of Shukaku with a mad roar, and a pained scream from the Ishibi. Naruto's blue eyes locked onto the golden orbs of the Ishibi. Don't you dare lay a hand on my mother! Naruto's warped voice roared out in anger before he bulldozed into the beast, nearly knocking Pakura from her perch. He called me mother. Pakura almost cried, then grinned. Don't worry, Naruto-chan, your mom's no pushover, she said, and channeled her Scorch chakra into her arms. Now pay attention, Shikuten, Scorch Fist! She leapt up to the Ishibi's head, and slammed her Scorch-enhanced fists into his head. Wake up, Gaara! She roared, the sand beneath her knuckles turning to glass and shattering under her assault. Rasa rose from the ground once more. Giant, gold dust imperial funeral. The remaining gold dust from his giant rose up in a great wave and crashed into Shukaku, and Pakura along with it. Kakashi was at her side in a moment to get her away from the impending danger. Kazekage-sama, what's the matter with you? Quiet, Hotake, Rasa snapped. The life of one does not outweigh the lies of many. That's your son in there. Pakura roared at the man, her anger flaring. Would you seriously kill him? Rasa looked at the woman. You are no longer a shinobi of Suna, therefore this is none of your concern. Heartless bastard! Pakura snapped, and did the unthinkable. She attacked the Yondaime Kazekage. Shikuten, explosion! From her palm, which was still encased in her Scorch chakra, came a white-hot blast of flames aimed directly at the man she had once followed. Rasa brought his gold dust in a shield, blocking the attack. What the devil are you doing, you stupid woman? Pakura leapt after him, protecting a child. You ingrate! Pakura-san! Kakashi yelled after her. Look after Naruto-chan! Pakura yelled over her shoulder. To stop Shukaku, just find and awaken Gaara-kun. Meanwhile, Naruto was dragging Shukaku further and further away from the village, Hiruzen following their progress on the ground as he hurried after them. That's good, Naruto-chan. You're far enough away from the village to fight. Shukaku roared and slapped at the fox's face. dislodging his fangs from his hide. "Get off of me, ya ugly old fleabag!" "Shut up!" Naruto roared. "Let Gaara go right now!" Naruto growled as he prepared another attack, the tips of his tails coming over his body, and glowing brightly. Shukaku turned toward his brother. "Make me, Kurama ni!" Naruto roared, firing 9 beams from the tips of his tails, slicing across the land, and into Shukaku's body. He howled in pain. "Kurama, ya jackass, you're gonna kill my container!" Shukaku screamed, his limbs falling away from his body, before they started reforming from the surrounding desert. "All I want is to taste some blood, but you won't let me." "If I could have blood," the beast growled, then turned his head toward the oasis, smelling exactly what he desired, and grinned. "Hee, I'll slaughter everyone in the entire village." He roared and curled himself into a ball, rolling away from the fight, and toward the villagers. "No!" Naruto roared, barreling after him. "That's where Temari-chan is." Hiruzen saw the Shukaku's change in direction and sped away in front of the beast. "Not today, you bloodthirsty beast!" He landed in front of the beast, positioning his staff. "Expand!" The Nyoibo expanded to the size of a large tree trunk, and Hiruzen thrust it into the ground. "Up you go!" Shukaku, unable to stop his advance, even if he wanted to, slammed into the tip of the staff sticking in the air, and vaulted over it with a cackling cry as the bow staff threw him. The rolling ball of sand careened across the night sky, and sailed over the oasis, crashing into the ground with a titanic rumble. Temari huddled close to her brother and Baki. "Why won't it stop?" she asked. "Can't they help him?" Baki, watching all of the fighting going on, Pakura fighting their Kazekage, and the Shinobi barreling after the Ishibi while Kakashi and Hiruzen chased after it, could only shake his head. "I don't know. But we can pray." At that moment, Naruto's massive form lumbered over them, frightening the villagers into screaming before the sight of the legendary Baju. Temari, though frightened, looked on in awe of the beast. The red fur seemed to glow in the light of the moon, and the eyes of the beast shone like twin blue moons. "Pretty." Naruto paused in his pursuit, his eyes falling onto the small girl that had become dear to him. Temari was looking right back at him, the fear, somehow, gone from her as she looked into the eyes of the beast he had become. "Extend!" Hiruzen roared, pole vaulting over the beast, and spinning his staff around his body. "Heads up, Shukaku!" Stupidly, the Ishibi looked up, and was rewarded with a hard strike to his head right between his ears from Hiruzen's staff. "Oh, stupid monkey!" Shukaku screamed, sending his sand after the man. "I'll kill ya! I'll kill you all dead!" Suddenly, Kakashi came barreling out of nowhere, small orb of chakra in his palm. "I won't let you hurt anyone else, least of all your own container!" he yelled and leapt up the Ishibi's body. Rasengan! He slammed the Rasengan into the Shukaku's face, distorting it and causing sand to fall from his face, revealing Gaara. Temari screamed upon seeing her brother. Naruto looked up and saw the boy dangling by his arms and legs trapped in sand from the disfigured face, the sand Baju, and leapt forward, his jaws agape. He crashed into the Ishibi, bearing down on him with his teeth. Temari saw this and shrieked, "No, Naruto, please don't!" Naruto's jaws snapped down. Shukaku screamed as his body began melting into the desert. Sand dribbled from Naruto's jaws. Temari screamed as her tears came unbidden. Naruto lumbered over to the villagers, his head hung low to the ground. In front of Temari and her brother, he set down a large lump of sand. On top of that lump was a small boy with blood-red hair, and he was breathing. Temari and Kankuro rushed forward. Gaara shifted tiredly, and opened his eyes just as his elder sister reached him. "Temari-san?" "I'm here," Temari said, taking her brother in her arms. "You're gonna be fine, okay? The monster's gone now." "Okla-san." "Okla-san didn't love me," Gaara said in a small voice, his eyes tearing up. She only gave birth to me because she wanted revenge." "No," Temari said, shaking her head, "Kachan loved you. She loved you more than anything in this world, just like she loved me and Kankuro-nikan." Gaara shook his head. "No, my name means a demon that is loved by no one, and only meant to love himself. She hated me." Temari bit her lips, her tears staining the sand, and then said, "Kasan used to sing to you, you know," she said, gaining his attention. "Before you were born, she used to sing to you while you were still in her tummy." "She did?" Gaara asked, and his sister nodded. Could you sing it for me?" "The song she used to sing?" Temari nodded, and looked up at the fox. "Thank you, Naruto-chan," she said, and began to sing. Yuyayami Semaru Kumo no Ui Itsumo Ishiwa Datandaru Takawakito Kanashi Karu Otomo Tadita Kase no Naka Sora wo Tsukinda Sono Tsubasa Yasumaru Kotobo Deki Nakut Thum. Naruto's body crashed to the ground, unsettling the siblings as the fox's body started to burn in red flames. Naruto! Temari shrieked. Kakashi-kun! Get Naruto-chan clear of the body! Hiruzen roared, dashing back toward Rasa and Pakura's battle. I need to stop those two before they kill each other. Right! Kakashi yelled as he landed on top of the burning body. Come on! Come on! Where are you, Itato? He received no answer as the flesh of the fox kept burning away, revealing bone beneath. Temari scrambled over the inferno, scanning the beast's body for any sign of her friend Naruto-chan. Meanwhile, Rasa was very close to losing his temper with the woman in front of him. You ungrateful wench! After all I've done for you, you would turn your back on your own village for a mere child. Pakura sent another stream of white-hot flames at him. I'd do anything to protect the children of any village, even if it meant going against a cage. She roared, and we both know that you'd have attacked Naruto-chan as well. I won't let you hurt my Soichi. Enough! The black shaft of Hiruzen's Nyoibo came whistling between them as the Shinobi no Kami landed between them. You two fools! The battle is over. Naruto-chan's beaten the Ishibi back and Gaara-kun is safe. Rasa looked over toward the oasis. He's stable? How? Hiruzen glared at the man. You, oh foolish Kazekage, can thank your daughter for that, he said, looking every bit the Shinobi in his battle attire. His staff in hand, she was able to break through to him while still retained his sanity and bring him back. If not for her and Naruto-chan, your people would have fed the Baju Gaara-kun carries. He then looked at the woman, smiling. Pakura-san, once Naruto-chan is retrieved, we set out for Konoha. I have a sudden urge to return home. Naruto was awakened by an all too familiar dripping sound as his eyes came open, revealing the sewer-like cage where the Kiwabi was held. Here again? Indeed, growled the titanic voice of the Kiwabi as Naruto sat up. Consider yourself lucky, you little wretch. If I hadn't forced all of that chakra into your tiny little body, you wouldn't have been able to use my form so readily. Now it seems that I have been made a fool. The Kiwabi growled. Naruto looked at him in confusion. What are you talking about? You're the one that turned me into that giant kitsune, right? The massive fox laughed loudly, causing the waters of his cell to dance under the vibrations. You fool! As if I would aid you in such a way. No, you took the chakra I forced upon you and stored it away in another part of your being. In a sense, you have but a fraction of my power at your fingertips, but be warned, Runt, for my power is limitless, as yours is not. That small amount you took from me will someday run dry, and you will come to me for more. Naruto looked up at the beast in defiance. I already told you, I won't use your power for you. I'll get stronger using my own power. The fox glared down at him in contempt. You Ningen make no sense to me. You refuse my power, but then you turn right around and use the chakra I forced upon you to do battle with my idiot brother. Make no mistake, even with that small amount of power, you could have obliterated that foolish tanuki 1,000 times over, but for someone like myself or my more powerful brethren, you will need more. Naruto shook his head. You can have it back, he stated. I don't want it anymore. Go on, take it. The Kiwabi's claws crashed through the bars of his prison. You think I haven't tried? I can't. I am prevented from moving about your being because of this accursed seal. Naruto felt a smirk on his face. Not so tough, now, huh? Insolent worm. Should I ever be freed from this blasted prison, I will make you watch as I raze your village to the ground. I will feast upon your loved ones' flesh, and bathe in their blood. Naruto sat down in the water, smiling. Before that day comes, I'll get rid of that hatred you say you carry for everything. The fox growled. I'm hatred incarnate. He growled. To rid myself of hatred you would have to destroy all of the hatred within yourself. He smirked as the boy flinched. Yes, little worm, you harbor your own hatred. For your village, for its people, for what they did to you. For your beloved Hokage for not telling you of your wretched family. Naruto looked down, feeling a pit forming in his stomach. He did feel angry at times when he thought about the cruelty he felt at the hands of the villagers. And he was angry that his Jiji hadn't told him of his Uzumaki heritage. But even with all of that, he still loved. Jiji was always kind to him, and he loved him like a grandfather. There were some villagers that liked, and would give him food and clothing at times. And there was Pakura. Okla-san. Naruto smiled and looked back up at the Kiwabi. Kurama-san. The Kyuubi flinched and sneered at the use of his name. I might be angry, and maybe even hate some people, but I also love them. Kurama growled, and turned away from him in disgust. Get out of my sight. Leave me to my solitude, and never darken these halls again. I'll come back and get out. X = 2 days after the battle between Shukaku and the Kyuubi found Hiruzen and Pakura in Hokage's carriage with Kakashi sitting on the roof to keep watch. They were almost back in the land of fire. Pakura was cradling Naruto in her arms as he slept, the boy cuddling up to her in the sleep. Before leaving, Temari had given the boy a scroll, and sealed inside it were a pair of tesson, both blue in color, as well as a letter from the girl, asking if the pair could write to each other. The young Kazekage heiress not caring about the young blonde being a jinchuriki like her brother. Temari had also made it her duty to shield her brothers from her father. Though, after everything that had happened, Rasa completely ignored his children. Temari didn't care. She had Gaara and Kankuro, and that was all she needed. Bidding Temari goodbye, the blonde boy got the shock of a lifetime as Temari pecked him on the cheek, causing a few giggles from the 14-year-old Kakashi, who hid behind his favorite book, much to Pakura's annoyance. Naruto's parting with the girl had been a simple smile after that. See you soon, Mary-chan. Kakashi, from his point on the roof, was busying himself with his favorite book once again, well out of Pakura's eyesight, for the woman did not like the book itself, and thought very little of its readers, no matter who they were. Needless to say that Hiruzen abstained from reading his own copy in front of the woman for his own safety. They were just about to the village with only a few more miles to go, but had stopped to rest the horses for a short while, even though 3 of them could have made it to the village in record time if they'd simply taken to the trees. But the Sandaime was in no particular hurry to get back to the village. There was only more paperwork for him to do. That much was a given. But there was one other reason he wasn't in a hurry to be home, though said reason was reason enough to be in a hurry. Shimura Danzo. Hiruzen sighed as he remembered the times the man had tried to take his seat from him. The first time had been during the war before he'd become crippled, but leave a wolf its head and it still has the power to bite. Hiruzen thought the second time was when he'd taken young Kakashi under his wing not so long ago and inducted him into the foundation route. Shortly after that, Kakashi had come to him, saying that Danzo had ordered him to assassinate him. That was all it had taken for Hiruzen to remove the seal on him that bound him to the one-eyed warhawk, and make him his eyes and ears throughout the village along with his other hand-selected Anbu unit. And, Hiruzen thought as he watched Naruto playing tag with Pakura-san around to look after Naruto-chan, I doubt that old warlord is going to stay quiet. I'll have to do something about him as soon as I get back to the village. Kai-chan, no fair using clones. Naruto giggled as Pakura's rock clone popped up out of the ground and nabbed him. But the boy was having too much fun to care about fairness. Pakura had proved to be quite the mother figure for the boy, even going so far as to teach him how to use the set of tesson Temari had given him. Shikuten, as explained by Pakura to both Naruto and a curious Kakashi who had never seen the unique chakra nature before, was a natural mixture of both wind-natured chakra and fire-natured chakra, the result being a much more powerful flame technique. Pakura demonstrated one such technique by sending a ball of her Shikuten into a large tree, which quickly withered and died within moments of contact, and only a moment later, the tree turned to ashes. The young black and orange-clad shinobi in training was ecstatic about his possible abilities, but, for the moment, Pakura was happy with teaching him a few low-level Futon ninjutsu possible with his fans. Hiruzen's smile for the boy was only on the surface. Inside he was a torrent of worry. Danzo would most certainly want to use Pakura for his own gains, or perhaps having her produce more Shikuten users for the future. And he would ultimately try to recruit Naruto for his own abilities. The aging Hokage shook his head. I will not allow Minato-kun's son to suffer such a thing. Hey! Kakashi yelped as Naruto accidentally let loose a blast of wind that knocked his book skyward. Kakashi scrambled to grab it. This is a signed copy, he yelled, glaring at the pair. Goemon, Kakashi ni. Naruto grinned. Pakura just crossed her arms under her breasts. Pervert. Kakashi blushed. I am not a pervert. I just appreciate good literature. X = The two chunin at that gate greeted the Hokage warmly upon his return, smiling even at the young blonde as he trotted alongside Pakura. Pakura, looking over at the aged Kage, asked, is there anything I need to sign or do before I take Naruto to whatever home you have lined up for us? Hiruzen chuckled, I have a feeling that if I asked you to the tower to sign anything at the moment, my advisors would descend upon me like vultures on a piece of meat," he said, taking a left from the gate. "Come, I'll show you to the old Uzumaki compound here in the village." "Such a place exists here?" Pakura asked, taking Naruto by the hand as they followed after him, Kakashi bringing up the rear. Hiruzen nodded. "It was meant as a sign of respect toward our brethren from Azu, but it has gone a while without a tenant. I'll have some Genin teams sent over to repair the place." Naruto looked up at her. "Does this mean we have a place to live?" Pakura nodded. "It would seem we do, Naruto-chan." The walk through the village was interesting to say the least. The villagers, having gone a few days without seeing the blonde, were stunned to see him in such company as the Hokage, and the youngest Jonin shinobi in the village. Pakura was another oddity. Her exotic hair coloring and pupilless eyes made her a stunning sight when combined with her figure, much to a few wives' dismay as their husbands caught sight of the woman. But the fact that she was in the company of the pariah of the village was a monstrously degrading factor. For his part, Naruto could already feel the eyes of the villagers on him. "Isn't that the boy that—" "Hush! The Hokage is with him." "You wanna be killed?" "But who is the woman with him?" Pakura's eye twitched. "The little brat must have lied to get her to like him." "There's no way." Pakura sent a ball of scorching flames in their direction, startling them. She placed Naruto right beside her, and held him close. "Listen here, you nosy civilians," she said calmly, but her tone made they all shiver as she addressed them. "I am Pakura of the Shikuten, and I am also this boy's adoptive mother. Say one more word about his affliction, and you'll deal with me." She held up another ball of flames for good measure. "Hurt my family, and I'll turn you to ash and spread you over a garden." Kakashi giggled behind his book, one eye peeking over the edge to see the utterly flummoxed looks on the people's faces. He wasn't the only one as Hiruzen let a satisfied smile adorn his face. "Kakashi-kun?" "Hi, Hokage-sama," Kakashi says, snapping the book closed. The Sarutobi patriarch handed him a slip of paper. "Head to the Higurashi weapons shop and ask the owner to make a bow staff from these ingredients. He'll know what it'll come out like if he knows his metals. And I'd also like you to purchase a practice bow about Naruto's size. You may tell him to send the bill to my office, and I'll be sure to have everything paid in full by this evening." "Yes sir." Kakashi nodded, giving his customary eye smile and flashing away. As he went, Pakura shivered involuntarily. "It's much cooler here than I first thought it would be," she said. "Is this the autumn season?" Hiruzen chuckled. "As a matter of fact it isn't," he said, smiling at the brown-eyed woman. "This is in fact the summer part, the season in High no Kuni." Pakura's brow rose. "This is summer?" "Uh-huh." Naruto grinned. "It's almost as hot as it was in Suna." Pakura looked at her boy for a moment. "He's joking, right?" "Wait until winter hits." Hiruzen smiled as they continued on. "We're due for a fine snowy season this year." "Snow?" Pakura moaned in dismay. The Higurashi weapons shop was by far the most respected store for weapons in all of Konoha, with its owner being one of the finest blacksmiths in the lands, second only to the forge masters of the daimyo. Kanshi Higurashi, despite his short stature, was a grizzled and worn man with hands as hard as the steel he worked. A fact driven home when Kakashi handed him the list of materials the Hokage had asked to be combined, and heard every audible creak coming from his knuckles as he took it. Kanshi looked up at the young man. "Do you know what this will create, Kakashi-san?" Kakashi shook his head. "I was only instructed to give you that list so you could forge a 6-foot Noibo staff from the materials, and I'm also to get a training staff from you for a boy about yay big." He held his hand about 3 feet from the desk. "He's 5, going on 6 in a few months." Kanshi looked at him once more, and smiled. "You mean that Uzumaki boy, right?" The young Jonin's lone eye narrowed. "And if I do?" Kanshi flapped the paper in his face. "Boy, you should know that that boy has been through hell." "I'm sorry." Kakashi's brow rose. "As you should," Kanshi thundered, making the teen shrink back. "You know I've seen that boy scrounging around in the garbage for food. That orphanage never took proper care of him, and now I've heard they've turned him out on the streets. What is the Hokage going to do about that, eh?" Kakashi, shocked at finding Naruto a champion in the grizzled old blacksmith, raised his hands in a calming gesture. "Easy there, Kanshi-san. Hokage-sama has already taken care of it. Naruto's been adopted by a good woman." "Has he now?" Kanshi asked, raising his brow, before grinning a grin so wide Kakashi was reminded of the Shukaku for a moment. "That's a good thing, then. Poor kid's gonna need some looking after from what I've heard." "What have you heard?" Kakashi's voice hardened. Kanshi leaned in close. "Just before the Hokage left, I heard about the killings. Danzo ain't happy about that either. Them two other old bats are on his side, too. He's calling around to all the shops telling them to up the price of their wares to the boy, hoping to starve him out. Course, I ain't gonna be doing anything of the like. I know about that boy, and I figure I owe him for keeping that thing locked away. Kakashi nodded. I appreciate what you've told me, and I will inform the Hokage at once. He said, keep on your toes, Kanshi-san. Danzo-san has ears everywhere. Kanshi's only answer was to heft a huge spiked metal club up over his shoulder. I didn't go through the Third War and come out alive so some wrinkled old warhawk could send his yunjins after me. He said with a toothy grin, take whatever staff you need, and I'll have this new one forged in about, say 3 days. Wanna get it just right for the little fellow. Not every day that I get the Sarutobi's secret to creating the fabled adamantine steel. Kakashi didn't show his surprise, but smiled. Do you know anyone in the merchant stores that would help Naruto and his new mother? Kanshi sighed, rubbing the bridge of his nose. Honestly, Kakashi-san, not many would help anyone that helped the boy. The Ikaraku family always lets him eat for free when he'd gone a while without food. And some of the people that worked in the clothing district would secretly give him throwaway clothes that were meant for the dumpsters, but they never held the jobs for long after they were found out. Kakashi nodded. Looks like I should take a more active hand than I thought. Thank you for your time, Higurashi-san, he said, backing away with a bow, moving over to pick out a bow staff. Half a moment, Kakashi-san, Kanshi said, ducking under the counter. He came back up with a few crates. Figure if he's gonna be a shinobi, then he's gonna need a few shuriken and kunai. So's his ma, too, if she's gonna look after the poor kid. I thought you said this place was only gone a little while without someone living in it. Pakura snapped as she waded through the waist-deep grass with Naruto riding on her shoulders. This place is gone wild. Oh dear, Hiruzen sighed, taking in the state of the buildings. The Uzumaki mask shrine in the center of the area. I had thought that Koharu and Homura were keeping this place up. Seems that I need to have a talk with them, he growled before turning to the pair. Cover your ears. Naruto and Pakura nodded, doing as they were told before Hiruzen took a deep breath, and they winced when the Kami no Shinobi bellowed out, and they heard him even though they had plugged their ears, and it still made them ring. Not a moment later, an entire squad of animal-masked Anbu Black Ops Shinobi appeared, at least 12 of them by Pakura's count. You called, Hokage-sama? Hiruzen smiled, good response time. I need a few of you to get together with some of the lower genin teams. I need at least 4 of them, and have them come here prepared for manual labors. Grass cutting, building repair, painting, and perhaps some stone work. And I would like one of you, Neko-chan will do, to inform the elders, Danzo included, that I have returned, and that I will be calling a meeting of the clans in say, 2 hours' time, and the rest of you are to inform said clan heads of this meeting. Is there anything wrong, sir? The foremost Anbu asked, wearing a bear mask. No, Kuma-san, there is not, though I feel like I am about to raise hell. Hiruzen chuckled. Now, Neko-san, once you're done with the elders, come back here and help Pakura-san and little Naruto-chan with their living arrangements here in the Uzumaki compound. He said to the purple-haired female Anbu, you'll also be directing the genin teams along with their jonin instructors. Have 5 teams brought in. One of them will need to run errands for the household things, and put it all under my name. Hokage-sama, Pakura cried, you're being far too generous. Hiruzen smiled at her. No, I'm not. I'm just helping a future clan make its home here, he said, turning back to the assembled Anbu. Well, get going. HAI equal 2 hours later equal. The clans of Konoha had gathered in the council room. Hiwaga, Uchiha, Nara, Yamanaka, Akamaki, Inuzuka, Abaram, Kurama, Hiruzen's eldest son, Goto Sarutobi, and finally, Danzo as the last of the Shimura clan. Koharu and Homura had taken up the desks sitting on either side of the Hokage, both looking worried. Danzo, however, was looking stoic as ever, though Hiruzen knew otherwise. Good people, and clan heads of Konoha, Hiruzen intoned, not letting himself falter at all. As you know, Uzumaki Naruto has been attacked, and has retaliated as he saw fit. If by attack, you mean having mauled 15 people to death, then yes, we are well aware of it, Danzo said, tapping his cane against the floor. It was foolish to Shimura, Hiruzen scowled, his chakra flaring, You have spoken out of turn and interrupted your Hokage. The man shrank back. Do so again, and I will have you removed from this meeting and banned from all others from this point on. Danzo gripped his cane tightly, the only sign of his anger to show through his facade. Now, as I was saying, yes, Naruto did lash out and kill those villagers, Hiruzen said, and they have been marked as traitors to this village for outright attacking him, attempting to murder him, which, if anyone understood the meaning of a sealing technique, would have meant the release of the Kyuubi. As such, I took him with me to Suna to make sure that this would not happen again on my watch, and had intended on adopting him into our clan. Goto raised his hand to speak. Otu-sama, you know we would welcome him. Why didn't you bring him to the main house? Simple, Hiruzen said. He made contact with the Kyuubi. The room went deathly quiet then, and Hiruzen continued, yes, he now knows, and believed the village civilians to be correct in his being a demon, as they often called him. Not only that, but he was turned out of the orphanage that very day, prompting the attack. As such, I saw fit to take him away from the village for a time, so that he could somewhat get over what had transpired. However, upon arriving, it was discovered that the boy, as seen by someone with the same abilities, had a very special, and very rare Kekkei Genkai. The Shikuten. A murmur went through the gathered clans, and Hiruzen held up his hand for silence. I know it must come as a shock, but the one that confirmed it was none other than Pakura of the Shikuten herself, he said, and to answer my son's question, the reason he is not now at our clan's compound is because Pakura migrated from Suna to Konoha in order to adopt the boy and train him in her arts, he said, preparing to drop the proverbial paper bomb. And I have approved it. What? Koharu and Homura roared. You can't trust a foreigner with silence. Hiruzen roared, glaring at the trio. I, not you, am the cage of this village. If you wish to file a complaint, please leave it on my desk so that I may ignore it for my more important paperwork, he growled, steepling his fingers together as he gazed out from under his hat. Now, I know many of you here, all of you wished at one point or another to adopt young Naruto for the love of his father, but I was naive, and let the councilmen handle it. As such, the child has been mistreated, and nearly killed. No more will I be the figurehead that I have been since Minato-kun's death. No longer will I leave my most important tasks to the elders. He looked across the room, piercing them all with his gaze. Fugaku Uchiha. Fugaku stood, smiling. Sir, your clan has been wrongly harassed due to the Kyuubi incident, the Hokage went on, and as such, the elders have taken much from you. Half of your land, you holdings, money. I believe that there is a large unused training field right next to your compound. I, as Sandaime Hokage, award the Uchiha clan ownership of these ground to do as they wish. And also, there have been strange goings on around this village. His glance slid straight to Danzo, who showed no sign of flinching. Children and adults alike have gone missing. From now on, the Uchiha police force will do frequent sweeps of the village every hour during the night after 8. Any suspicious activities are to be brought to Anbu, who will then relay that information to me. He smirked. Is this acceptable? Fugaku was flummoxed. Hokage-sama. I'll take that as a yes, Hiruzen chuckled. Then his gaze hardened once again, while in Suna, the Ishibi was unleashed. The Kazekage, in his arrogance, tried to test his jinchurikis, his own son, control over the beast. He failed, miserably. At the same time, Naruto fully manifested the Kyuubi's form. Quiet, he roared as the chamber filled with voice. Now, as I was saying, Naruto was able to change into, and control the form of the Kyuubi, even being able to speak. He fought, and defeated the Ishibi, forcing it back into its container with the aid of myself, and Kakashi Hatake. Later, after the battle was done, the treaty between our village was all but ignored. For future patrols from all clans, please be wary of Suna Shinobi. I do not think that they will openly attack us unless we trespass on their lands, but I would rather not take the risk of another shinobi war. Hayashi Hyuga stood for a moment. Hokage-sama, may I ask what our relations with Kumo are after? After my daughter's kidnapping attempt, kill any and all Kumo shinobi on sight unless the Chunin exams dictate otherwise, Hiruzen said, and saw the pleased smirk on the Hyuga's face. Fugaku was looking at the man with a slight pallid expression. Ahem, Hokage-sama, if I may suggest something. You may, Hiruzen said, wondering why the man looked rather ill. The Sharingan, while it is a powerful doujutsu, cannot see through walls, as the Byakugan can. Fugaku said, swallowing back bile, if Hayashi-san would permit it. I would happily accept a few of his clan into the police force, he said in a rush. The room was quiet once more, no one believing what they had heard. Tsum of Th Inizuka was the first to recover. Did I just hear that right, or did hell just freeze over? Over with the workforce at the Uzumaki compound. The progress was staggering. Not because of the genin, no, they were too busy ogling the new matriarch's assets. No, it was because Pakura and Naruto were working their asses off and putting them to shame. With the use of his Tessen wind blades, Naruto had knocked down a large amount of grass which was now being bundled up for thatching, or carted off to farms for fodder. Pakura's fire style was burning away years of debris, and trees from where they had grown or fallen. Neko, having to chase the poor genin around to get them to work, was busy barking, meowing out orders to the jonin for the genin rookies. Now, Pakura and Naruto were sitting on the porch of the main house, exhausted from all of their hard work as they watched the others work. Naruto was dozing off against her as she held him in her lap. Well, Naruto-chan, what do you think? Naruto mumbled sleepily, I like our new home, Ka-chan. Hiruzen Sarutobi, for the first time in years, since his beloved wife had been killed, felt alive. Not only had he put the fear of Kami into his 3 badgering advisors, but he had bolstered relations, even though it was inadvertently, between the Uchiha and the Hyuga clans, 2 families that couldn't stand each other. Yes, thought the old man as he sat behind his desk, feeling proud of his title once again. Life was good. And then there was the progress with the newest addition to the village. Neko had come back late that evening and reported the old Uzumaki compound livable. Pakura, apparently, was quite popular with the younger generations, particularly the boys. She had, much to Neko's, and by extension, Hiruzen's amusement, had to put up with the older jonin flirting with her throughout the whole day. That is, until the woman had gotten fed up with the unwanted attention and sent them packing with a few well-aimed fireballs. Thankfully, she hadn't demonstrated her shikuten on them. It was the amusing image of the woman chasing off the amorous jonin that had the man laughing quietly as Kakashi came into the office. Ah, Kakashi-kun, just the person I wanted to see. Kakashi gave a slight bow as he scratched the back of his head bashfully. Goemon, Hokage-sama, I save it. The man chuckled knowingly. I knew where you were, and I know you knew that I knew, so you don't have to make those silly excuses Obito-kun used to get into. Kakashi sighed sadly. I guess I picked up his habit. Hiruzen chuckled. He had a habit of getting into absurd situations, he said, having watched said Uchiha through his crystal ball. Now, as to the reason I wish to see you. How are Pakura and Naruto settling in? A large bead of sweat made its way down the side of the young jonin's face. Yeah, about that. Kakashi. The villagers were treating her poorly due to Naruto-chan being around, Kakashi blurted out, but in her defense, the reports you'll be getting in the morning are completely untrue. Reports? Hiruzen growled. Explain. Now. Why yes, sir. Kakashi says, going rigid. Well, to start off, one of the jonin leading the genin teams. Well, Naruto-chan didn't like the way he was talking about Pakura-san, and just laying about while everyone else was working, so he sighed, he doodled on his face while he was napping. Hiruzen sputtered, is that all? Some of his jonin could use a good blow to the ego. Well, no, after he woke up and found out, he tried. Well, he tried to discipline the boy and not in a very nice way. Kakashi said, how bad did Pakura-san hurt him? Hiruzen chuckled. Kakashi shivered, let's just say he won't be walking straight from now on, he said, remembering the man's shrill cry, even though he deserved it for raising a hand to Naruto in such a way. The real chaos started when Pakura took Naruto shopping for supper. Those damned merchants, Hiruzen sighed. Taka, sir, commented the Anbu hiding behind the couch. Make a note to remind me to have a word with the Merchants' Council sometime tomorrow, he said, sighing. Well, go on, Kakashi-kun. When they went to the grocer's market, none of the stalls would sell to them, Kakashi says, his lip twitching, but when Pakura asked why and they said that they never served the likes of Naruto, she flew into a rage. Nothing too severe, I hope? Hiruzen asked, his own smile twitching. Well, Kakashi droned. She didn't kill anybody. Hiruzen outright laughed. I'll take that over a dead body any day. He roared. What then? They tried the restaurants. Kakashi sighed. That was a big mistake for them. They outright tried to shoo them out with broomsticks. Pakura set them on fire. Then there was the issue with one of the owners. you'll hear from him about a certain pussycat's involvement," he said before a book came from the shelf, seemingly by itself, and smacked him in the head. "He deserved it for calling Pakura a demon's whore," Neko said from her hiding spot. Hiruzen chuckled. "Neko-chan, have that particular man brought in first thing in the morning. I'd like a word with him," he said, gaining a satisfied grunt from the bookshelf. "Now, Kakashi-kun, I hope, in the end, they did get a meal?" "Oh, yes," Kakashi smiled underneath his mask. For some odd reason, Akamaki Choza was in a very giving mood today, and welcomed them into his family restaurant. He wouldn't accept any form of payment either. He also offered to help Pakura with her food problem, as the Akamaki clan is responsible for our food production. "Very kind of him," Hiruzen smiled, knowing exactly why the man was being so jovial. After the meeting earlier that day, the large bear of a man had given him a bear-sized hug, welcoming him back for some reason. "We also had the Naru clan offering woodworked furniture for their home, and other homey articles," Kakashi says, smiling again. "I never knew Naruto-chan was so well liked." Hiruzen sat back and retrieved his pipe, flicking his finger so that a small flame appeared. "Minato-kun was a much beloved Hokage, and Kushina more so as a kunoichi. Both of them were the light of this village for so long. The trouble those two would get into when they were younger." Kakashi nodded sadly. "I know. Kushina-san told me," taking a long drag from his pipe, and letting out a smoke ring. "The wizened cage sighed. That is something I wish for you to investigate," he said, looking at the young man. Strange things went on during the Kiwabi's rampage. Jiraiya-kun was out of the village, the Uchiha clan was nowhere to be seen during the battle, and no one went to aid Minato-kun, nor were there any guards outside the birthing room. Hiruzen said, having a sinking suspicion on who the blame would fall. "Speak with Fugaku-san about the matter discreetly, let no one know of your questions, and if you feel that you are being followed, detain or kill your follower if necessary." Kakashi saluted. "For my sensei, I will do that without fail. Also, enlist young Itachi-kun. I believe he just completed his Anbu training," he said. "He has," Kakashi smiled, "and I believe we will find out more than we ever knew." "Why do you say that?" Hiruzen asked. Kakashi shrugged. "Call it a hunch. == Thank you so very much," Pakura said, bowing to the Naru clan head as the last of the furniture was placed. "I don't know how I could ever repay such kindness." Shikaku shook his head. "It's far too troublesome to ask you for payment when you've done what all of us have wanted to do for so long," he said, watching his young son, Shikamaru, Choji and Naruto playing in the yard. "You know I wanted to adopt him myself after I had. But that damned council." "Stop," Pakura said, smiling at the man. "You've done so much for him in such a short amount of time that I could almost think you were one of the great saints spoken about through history." She turned around, looking into the main house of the Uzumaki compound. "When we arrived this morning, I was a stranger in a strange place, with nothing to my name but a beautiful little boy, and the shabby little compound," she said, smiling at him once more. "But you and Akamaki-san helped me turn this place into a home." "You did that the moment you moved in," Shikaku said. "If need anything else, don't hesitate to ask. We owe the boy so much more than this." Pakura smirked, crossing her arms across her chest. "Him or his father?" Shikaku chuckled. "So you know?" "Not surprising. The kid's almost a carbon copy of them," he said, nodding. "Yeah, we owe them both a lot, but you should be careful. Hiruzen made a lot of enemies today, and they're gonna be gunning for you," he said, narrowing his eyes. "Apart from the clan heads, and those we put forward, don't trust any of the clans. The roots of darkness run deep in this village." "I'll keep that in mind," she said, then grinned. "But anyone who's dumb enough to mess with me has one hell of a death wish." Shikaku chuckled. "I'll bet you and my wife would get along just fine," he said, looking down the walk and spotted a familiar person marching toward them. "Whoops, speak of the devil." Yoshino Nara, a fair-skinned young woman with dark hair and eyes, and pink blouse, gave them a smile as she came up to the house. "Welcome to Konoha, Kekkei-san." "Just Pakura is fine," she said, smiling at the other woman, "and thank you." "Your husband and other clansmen just finished moving the furniture in." Yoshino scoffed. "I'm surprised you could get this lazy bum to move at all," she said, giving her husband a playful slap on the shoulder. "Nara men are notorious for being layabouts." "Hey, I worked," Shikaku grumbled. "Damn troublesome woman." "Did you say something, dear?" Yoshino asked sweetly, threatening violence. "Not a thing," Shikaku muttered. Pakura giggled at the pair. You two sure get along. We're married, Shikaku said as it explained everything. Shikaku, what? She grabbed him by the ear and hauled him down the sidewalk. It was nice meeting you, Pakura. Yoshino smiled sweetly. We'll have to get together with Kimi and Momiji one of these days for a chat. Pakura gained a large sweat drop on her head as she watched the Nara patriarch being dragged off with his son trailing behind alongside Choji. Well, at least she seems friendly. Sort of, she giggled. Naruto-chan, bedtime coming, Ka-chan, the blonde yelled, and came running. I want 2 squads each policing the clan compounds tonight, Fugaku said to his officers. Among them, some were Hyuga, a fact that did little to please some of the Uchiha clansmen. After the meeting today, the idea of little Naruto being taken care of will set a few people on edge. Now we all know that more than a few shinobi families don't care for the child, and many more would like to see him dead. He waited a moment to gauge the reactions of some of his newly appointed men. None of them spoke. Alright, for the next 6 hours, we will be looking for anyone out on the streets. Shinobi, or civilians, stop them. Search for concealed weapons or seals, but do so respectfully. We don't need a riot on our hands. If anyone offers resistance, use only the force needed to restrain them. Members of the Hyuga clan here tonight, I give you full permission to use your clan's juken, but only to disarm and stun, Fugaku said, nodding to the few men and women. And since we've only just gotten a few of your clan on the force, one of you will be paired with each squad until we can equal things out. Now I don't want any trouble from either of our clans, he growled, seeing some of his own clan scowl. I know our clans have never been the best of friends, but I was the one that suggested this union, and I pray to whatever kami there are that it works. The Uchiha clan head straightened up. We've all been made aware of the attack on Uzumaki Naruto, and of his retaliation against said attackers, and it has been revealed that he has the ability to don his Baju's true form. If someone attacks him again, we could very well see the return of the Kyuubi, and I will not allow this village to be razed to the ground again. He growled once more. Our job is simple. Protect that boy and his mother. Is that understood? Hi. Good. He nodded to his men. Squads 6 and 7 are to patrol the Yamanaka compound that is adjacent to the Uzumaki compound. Don't get too close, but keep your eyes open, especially you, Hyuga. I want your eyes on the Uzumaki compound at all time, and alert your partners the moment you see something out of sorts, and radio in the other squads while I alert Anbu. Nakauchiha stood up. Sir, are we expecting anything other than misguided hate from the villagers? That would be the best case scenario, Fugaku said. A few drunkards are easy to deal with, but after the meeting, we could be facing Anbu-level shinobi. Danzo, Izumi Uchiha muttered under her breath. She was the youngest out of the Uchiha police, 12, and barely warmed to her rank as Chunin, but she, like every Hyuga and Uchiha, knew of Shimura. Fugaku nodded to the girl. That's exactly what I think may be happening, he said with a shake of his head. Sarutobi-sama may not be able to do anything about him yet, but if he attacks with his men tonight, then we take at least one prisoner if they don't take their own lives first. Makes sure they don't. I want a live one. Are there any questions? No one spoke, and the man grinned. Alright, move out. The night was quiet for the 2 lone occupants of the Uzumaki compound. Naruto, sleeping alongside Pakura, was out like a light, snoring peacefully. Pakura, however, was slightly on edge. The wind moving through the trees outside was a foreign sound to her ears, as she had never had the pleasure of sleeping in a forested area before. The air was warmer than the cold desert nights, and pleasant. But something else was nagging at her, and it had nothing to do with her new home. Her senses as a shinobi were kicked into overdrive at the moment. Feigning sleep, Pakura kept herself curled protectively around the child in her arms. Something definitely wasn't right. There was a breeze whispering through the house. Then there came the sound of the door slowly sliding open, so there was barely a sound save for the slight scrape of the wood. She smelled cleaning oil. A blade was drawn. The air shifted. Pakura rolled out to the bed and hit the floor on the balls of her feet as the flash of a blade came down, stabbing through her bed. Naruto came awake with a yelp. Ka-chan, run, Naruto-chan, she yelled, 2 blazing orbs of Shikuten coming to her palms. Naruto scrambled out of the room and onto the terrace. Pakura growled as she faced down their attacker, a tall, muscular man wearing a yellow striped tiger mask. You picked the wrong house to break into. The stranger said nothing, only drawing his blade out of the mattress. I've got movement at the Uzumaki compound. Ko yelled to his comrades, pressing his radio as he moved. This is Ko. Movement at the Uzumaki compound. Repeat, movement at the Uzumaki compound. Search and detain, Ko. Fugaku's voice crackled. Remember, we need this one alive. Understood, Ko said. The northern wall of the compound exploded with flames as Pakura gave chase to the Anbu that had attacked. Get back here, you bastard. The Anbu flitted out of her reach, scanning the area for the blonde runaway. Spotting him hiding in the tree line, he went after him immediately, ignoring Pakura completely save for avoiding her scorch attacks. But Pakura was quicker than he was thanks to her years as an elite jonin for Suna. Don't think you'll get your hands on him, Pakura roared, flashing through her hand signs. Futen, great breakthrough. The Anbu was nearly blasted into the trees from the force of the gale she sent at him, only just avoiding it by hurtling toward the ground, which was where Pakura wanted him. Shikuten, Scorch Fist. Her arm was enveloped in her flames, and aimed directly at the falling shinobi. But he twisted his body around midair and landed heavily, slashing his sword down at her. Pakura sidestepped the blade and slammed a hard right home on his torso, superheating his lungs to unbearable levels. He staggered back, gasping for breath. It wasn't a fatal blow, not for Pakura's strength, but it was enough to drive a point home. He wasn't leaving here alive. Make this easy on yourself, she grit out. Tell me why you attacked us. Because of the boy? Again, the Anbu was silent behind his mask. Pakura nodded only once. Guess it's the hard way. Then, she said, growling, I already warned the villagers that if anyone harmed my family, I'd spread your ashes over garden soil. She formed a single hand sign. Shikuten, explosion. She punched forward, sending her flames at him in massive blasts from her hands. Seeing no other alternative at completing his task, the Anbu rushed her, his sword held at the ready to strike her down. 8 trigrams 32 palms, roared a new voice, and the shinobi was suddenly struck from behind by stinging blows. His body was beaten and battered as he staggered back under the assault. Naka-san, now. A hard blow to the face knocked the mask away from his face, revealing a man with short, black hair. Tsukuyomi, came the voice of Nakauchi as his Mangekyo Sharingan flared to life. The man hit the ground, grinning, and a moment later it was revealed why. His body burst into flames, and was dead before he hit the ground. Damn it, Naka growled, retreating from the flames. Pakura went to retrieve Naruto from his hiding spot, and held the boy close as she made sure he was unharmed. Naruto hugged her tightly around the neck, sobbing quietly while she hushed him. Ko and Naka watched the scene for a moment before turning back to the ashes that had been the unknown shinobi. Did you know him? Naka asked. I think his name was Mizuno, Ko confirmed with a nod, but he was loyal to the Hokage. I was sure. Naka shook his head, apparently not as loyal as we thought. This was a root mission. He sighed, cursing their luck, but we don't have any hard proof to accuse Danzo. Danzo is the hard proof. Ko snapped. He's headed out for the Hokage since he was elected. Naka nodded, sighing as Pakura came over to them with Naruto in her arms. Be that as it may, Danzo will deny anything we throw at him, at least until he gets fed up with waiting, he said, turning to the woman. Forgive yous for arriving so late, Pakura-san, he said as he and Ko bowed in apology. Who is that? Pakura demanded, and why were we attacked? Naka and Ko shared a look before the Uchiha shook his head. He was an Anbu that held a grudge against the boy for certain reasons. He sighed, hating the look that crossed the Pooh child's face upon hearing him. He knew why he was targeted. Pakura narrowed her eyes at the two men, sensing the lie. Thank you for helping us, but I think it's best that you leave with this information to let the Hokage know about this attack. The Hyuga and Uchiha nodded, sensing her ire, and left the compound, retrieving the Anbu mask as evidence. Danzo cursed as he felt the seal on Mizuno activate. He was his finest, most loyal soldier, and he had been cornered by the foreigner, as he called her, forcing his seal to be activated and kill him in order to keep his secrets. Alright, Danzo growled, turning toward his assembled forces, let the games begin. This is unacceptable, Hiruzen roared, slamming his fist down onto his desk as the report of the previous night's incident at the Uzumaki compound came to him. Are you certain that there was no one else? Naka and Ko shrunk back under his glare. Positive, Hokage-sama, Naka volunteered. Ko-san swept the area 3 times before we felt comfortable leaving Pakura-san and Naruto-chan alone. It's true, sir, Ko put in. I wouldn't leave until I knew for sure the area was cleared. Hiruzen growled and retook his seat behind his desk. Alright, that does it, he snapped, his nerves frazzled. Naka-san, I want you to inform Fugaku that I want trained in Inuzuka Ninken, and Shinobi added to his police force. 3-man patrols, plus the Ninken, 1 Uchiha, Hyuga, and Inuzuka per squad. I don't want any trails to be overlooked, understood? Naka nodded. That's a good idea. None of my clansmen are all that good at scent tracking. Nor are mine, Ko agreed. Tsum-san would be happy to try and put a certain person in his place, even if that meant going against the same sort of shinobi we did last night. Hiruzen nodded. That is a good thing, because I feel that I'm going to need all the support I can get in this endeavor, he said, looking at the 2 officers. You've done a great service to the village, for that root Anbu, I know, was one of Danzo's best and most loyal of subordinates. But it only gets worse from here on out. I am declaring war on any and all root members you come across. Corner them, and keep them from activating those blasted seals they have on them. I want one of them to talk. Naka nodded. How will we know them? The Anbu of the Foundation, as trained by Danzo, feel no fear, no love, or hate. They only know how to do as they are told. Hiruzen said, they are cold, heartless shinobi that wouldn't hesitate to kill an innocent if Danzo so ordered it. They show no real emotion at all. You can always pin them by their fake smiles. The aging Hokage sighed, but be warned, within this foundation are members from each clan, your own included. I'm sure the Yamanaka were especially of use to him because of their mind-reading abilities. A Baram were called in for their insects of the Hyuga, and the Uchiha. I'm sure you've had a few missing children throughout the years. Both Daijutsu users growled, knowing that at least 1 or 2 children had gone missing. We will inform our leaders at once, Hokage-sama. Naka bowed with Ko following suit. Post a guard around the Uzumaki compound, Hiruzen said. There's a very good chance this will happen again, especially since Naruto-chan is enrolling at the academy today. He sat back with a sigh as the 2 men nodded and left the room. Why he fears the son of our greatest hero growing stronger, I'll never know, nor shall I understand. Kai-chan, you think I can make any friends? Naruto asked as Pakura led him by the hand toward the academy. This was drawing quite a bit of attention from the villagers. Seeing the object of their hatred happy and bright with the foreigner was something they couldn't seem to wrap their minds around. Nor could they understand why said foreigner could willingly spend time, let alone care for, that which they viewed as a demon. Pakura, ignoring the stares and the glares, laughed. You already have friends, Naruto-kun. She smiled at him. Shikamaru-kun and Choji-kun are your friends, aren't they? Naruto grinned up at her. Well, yeah, but I'd like to have a whole lot of friends, Naruto said, smiling brightly. Kiba-tem and Sasuke-tem would be great to spar against, and then there's Sakura-chan. She's really pretty but loud. He winced, remembering when the girl in question had gotten angry at someone, and to think she had been such a shy girl at one point. What about Temari-san and Gaara-kun? Pakura asked as they entered the gates. Temari-san really liked you, you know? Naruto giggled childishly. Yeah, Temari-chan's great, he said with a small blush on his cheeks. Pakura smiled knowingly as she saw the signs of a childhood crush beginning in the young blonde. As they entered the schoolyard, many of the parents sent a glare toward the pair, which Pakura returned with a fiery aura around her that had nothing to do with her Shikuten. Most of the clan heads were there, and smiled when Pakura showed up with little Naruto in tow. Inoichi was the first to greet them with his little girl, Ino, right beside him. Ino, like her father, was a blue-eyed blonde, only her hair was a platinum blonde compared to his sandy blonde hair. She was also quite the chatterbox. Hayashi and Fugaku came next, both of whom still had a sort of rivalry going on as they muscled their way to greet the woman, only to be yanked back as none other than Yoshino Nara grabbed them by the ears and told them to behave. Sharing a look with the Nara clan head, both men wondered how Shikaku's ears were still attached. Now this was something none of the civilians expected. All of the clan heads fussing over a foreigner? Unheard of. Pakura, of course, took it all in stride, though she did get a few glances from the seemingly unattached members of the clans. I need to start wearing different clothes, she thought as she felt a shiver run down her bare back. She was quite sure that more than a few men were staring at her. Naruto was caught up in conversation with Shikamaru and Choji, all 3 of them laughing at something the other said. Ino was right in the thick of it all, chattering away, making her son grin widely. Another boy with wild brown hair came over to them with a feral look on his face. no doubt one of the Inuzuka children from the red markings on his face and the slit pupils. He was a loud child, and boastful for one so young. Pakura had no doubt that this had to be the child of the clan head, marking him as the heir. Taking in the gathered children, Pakura saw that many of the clans were gathered right alongside them. Fugaku had a small boy beside him while Hayashi had a little girl hiding behind his leg staring at Naruto shyly. Temari-chan has a little bit of competition, Pakura thought to herself with a slight smile. Taking in the remaining children, it appeared that only some of the bigger clans had their heirs entering this year. All of these people, though she had only met a few, were well known throughout the elemental nations for their techniques, clans, or Kekkei Genkai. The name, Uzumaki, will be making a comeback soon, too. A few weeks later, Suna Temari was, for lack of a better term, bored out of her mind. There happened to be a sandstorm howling outside, which not even Gaara would go out in, much as he wanted to. Kankuro was even working on his puppets for a fourth time that day while the girl herself was reading a scroll for a new jutsu to use with her mother's old Daitessen. She kept hoping that one of the messenger hawks would bring her a letter from Naruto, but then again, Naruto barely knew how to read, thanks to his upbringing. But she was sure Pakura was setting everything right. Gaara's treatment, thankfully, was better since their father had decided to leave him alone, and he was much more sociable with his siblings. Now Temari especially, he liked hearing her sing to him at night. But that's where everything pleasant for the boy ended. Shukaku would plague him with nightmares throughout the night, forcing him to keep awake to avoid losing control of himself. Temari was certain there were ways for him to actually be able to sleep, but she just couldn't find anything out. Rasa had forbidden any and all research of the Shukaku until it was time to choose a new jinchuriki. It made the blonde girl sick to think her own father would treat her brother like that, as nothing more than a tool, which made her wonder, what did he see her as? She sighed and set down the scroll just as Baki entered the room. Sensei, good news, Temari-san, the man said, holding out a scroll for her. You've got a letter from... Whoa! One would have thought the yellow flash had reappeared as fast as Temari rushed in and swiped the scroll from him. He chuckled as he saw the girl already back on the couch while her brothers were crowding around her, eager to hear from him. Are we? Kankuro grinned. Yeah, Temar's been waiting for her boyfriend to... Ga. Temari smacked him in the face with the end of the scroll before unrolling it. He's not my boyfriend, Temari stated as she began reading. Dear Temari, Kachan's helping me write this, because I'm still learning how to read and write, but I gotta tell ya, Shinobi Academy is so great. I've made a few friends, and none of them look at me like the adults around here do. Guess that's because they don't know about me yet. Kachan says not to worry about things like that because real friends won't mind what I am, like you don't. I can wait to see you again, either. Aha. Kankuro brayed. Sounds like he likes why oof. Temari elbowed him in the ribs and continued reading. You're not gonna believe how easy it is to prank the teachers here. I mean, there's this jerk named Mizuki that always gives Kachan the pervy eyes whenever she drops me off at the school. Seriously, he wouldn't stop. I don't get what's so interesting, though. Anyway, I finally decided to get back at him while we were in class. I convinced Shino-kun to lend me some of his bugs, he's in the param by the way, and filled up Mizuki's desk with M. You should have seen his face. Priceless. He was hopping around like a bunny. Temari was giggling as she pictured one of her own teachers falling for the same trick. Kankuro was outright laughing his head off while Gaara was smiling. Baki looked at the three of them. Don't you think you can play me like that? Temari grinned and kept reading. But that's not the best of the pranks I pulled. I did a really great gag after some of the Jonin schmucks were talking bad about Kachan for taking me in. So, and I really didn't get in trouble for this. Seriously, I painted the Hokage monument. Does he mean that huge mountain above the Hokage's tower? Temari asked in astonishment. How could he get away with that? The day Naruto painted the monument. Pakura sighed as she made her way to the Hokage's office, knowing that the only reason she would be called would be to either address a job, or to hear about something Naruto had done. Again, she suspected the latter, considering that the Hokage monument was painted in a ridiculous fashion. Yes, that morning she had woken up, bright and early as usual so she could prepare breakfast for them, but when she had gone to wake up Naruto, she had found the boy gone. Panicked, she had torn through the house in order to find him, and then she'd gone outside and nearly fainted. The great monument to the cages of old had been painted. The Shodaime had a look of pure horror on his face, eyes white and round, his jaw hanging open, as if he'd been caught red-handed doing something he really shouldn't have. His brother had a bug-eyed look on his face, and sported a line of drool running from the left side of his mouth, while his tongue was hanging out the right side. Hiruzen's face. Oh, dear! Hiruzen Sarutobi's visage now sported a set of huge, bushy eyebrows, a beaming smile that seemed to gleam in the morning light, and had the word youth painted in a word bubble just beside his head in big bold letters. Naruto had also taken a little time to paint whisker marks, and a wide grin on the yandame's face, making him resemble Naruto much more than he already did. If no one makes the connection after seeing that, then this whole village is in denial, she said, palming her face as an Anbu appeared before her. Good morning, Karasu. The crow-masked Anbu nodded to her and said, forgive me for coming to you so early, Pakura-sama, but I know, Pakura said, smiling slightly at her son's handiwork. Have you caught him yet? Karasu nodded. Only just now, he said, sighing. He didn't go down without a fight. Pakura rolled her eyes. Just so long as he wasn't hurt. Now she was just outside the door of the Hokage's office, expecting to see her son, battered and dirty, not fit for school. She knocked, hearing a short enter and opened the door. There was Naruto, trussed up like a turkey, surrounded by 6, frazzled, harassed, and beaten up Anbu. What in the world? Ah, good morning to you, Pakura-san. Hiruzen smiled, gesturing for her to come in. Morning, Ma. Naruto smiled, swiveling around so he could see her. He was roughed up, but none the worse for wear. Thank Kami. Did you ya see my joke? One of the Anbu snapped. He had half of his mask missing, having been broken off, revealing a large shiner beneath it. You call that a joke? It was funny. Naruto grinned. Hiruzen chuckled. I must admit, Naruto-chan, that your sense of humor is that of a true Uzumaki. Your clan was well known for their practical jokes, he said, smiling at the little boy, but I must say, this is beyond the limit for most people. What possessed you to deface the monument? Naruto grimaced. Ya know that jerk Jonin that works for you downstairs? Who? Shinichi? Hiruzen asked. The fellow with the scar on his chin? That's him, Naruto confirmed, nodding. He called my Ka-chan. He trailed off, looking at Pakura almost shamefully. Let's hear it, Pakura said, crossing her arms. He called her a slut. Whatever that means, but I don't think it's good, Naruto said, hanging his head. Untie him, Hiruzen said at once, and have Shinichi escorted from the building and informed that he is to be placed on permanent gate duty at the southern entrance. Kakashi, wearing his Ainu mask, moved to cut the boy loose, and disappeared, eager to tell the Jonin of his new job. Pakura leaned down and scooped Naruto up. That's an honorable thing you did, Naruto-chan, but defacing the monument like that is also disrespecting Sarutobi-sama. And he's done nothing to warrant such an attack from you. But he was always saying how great the monument was, and admiring it, Naruto pointed out. I figured it was the best way to get back at him. Be that as it may, Pakura said, it was still wrong of you, and I'll have to ground you for this. Naruto hung his head and placed it against her shoulder. I'm sorry. Hiruzen nodded to the woman, smiling at her control of the situation, then glanced at his Anbu. Now, what in the name of the first happened to you lot? The assembled Anbu, Neko included, all looked down at their feet. He kind of got the drop on us, the man with the shiner said. Pakura and Hiruzen widened their eyes at this. He did. Well, Neko says, fidgeting nervously, her arms crossed over her chest protectively. We didn't want to hurt him, so we tried to. Well, let's just say the kid packs a wallop. An Anbu wearing a lion mask sighed, speaking with a lisp. It took us the better part of 3 hours to catch him. 3 hours? Pakura looked at her son, but he's not even a genin. Teehee, I'm just that awesome. Naruto grinned, rubbing his finger under his nose. I got Ran when he tried to hold me still. Sorry about the tooth. Don't worry, Ran said, it was fake anyway. Then I got Inashishi with a knee to the face. He pointed the man in the cracked mask, and then looked at Neko. And I just scared Neko-chan. Scared her? The adults, minus Neko, who stiffened, said, yeah, that's right. Naruto grinned. I'm pretty scary. Hiruzen looked at the young purple-haired Anbu. Neko? Neko. He stole my underwear, Neko admitted, blushing madly. Pakura was torn. On the one hand, Naruto had been able to outrun and outsmart a team of Anbu for a good 3 hours. On the other hand, he had taken the first step into perversion. Naruto-chan? He looked up at her. I'm proud of you for outclassing these Anbu. But please, Don't ever, ever do something like taking Neko-san's unmentionables again. Alright. Hi. Naruto nodded, blushing himself. Hiruzen gained a devilish look on his face. Do you still have them? Naruto nodded, and the old man gained a devilish look. Then take him out, hold him high, and take off that mask, Neko-chan. Hiruzen roared, pulling a camera from his desk. Say cheese x Temari, her brothers, and Baki were all laughing themselves silly as the picture that popped out of the bottom of the scroll came to light. There was Naruto, sitting on a laughing Pakura's shoulder, holding a bright lime green panty and bra set above his head, while two Anbu members, one of them holding a cat mask, were flashing peace signs at the camera while holding a flustered purple-haired woman back. The woman's face was flushed, her eyes screwed so tight that they looked like a huge X going across her face, and her mouth was open in a forlorn wail. If things were this crazy in Konoha after just a week, then what did the Führer hold? That's the end, guys. If you enjoyed, then make sure to leave a comment. This is Chaos Shinobi signing off.